Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, this is the end of the Conservatives, as far as I'm concerned. That great party that gave us so many great leaders, Churchill, Thatcher, Disraeli, all of these greats have been long forgotten by the Liberal Democrats that took control of Conservative campaign headquarters, who meticulously fought a war for 30 years to prevent anybody of quality from the political right ever getting a seat in Parliament. They didn't succeed in every single case, and there were some notable exceptions, people like Rees-Mogg, people like Robert Jenrick, most of whom, by the way, lied about their political views in order to persuade CCHQ they were socialists, and then they got in and admitted their views a bit later on, which is why so many of them seem to have had a road to Damascus conversion. But there is no doubt that Tony Blair destroyed the constitution of this country. There is no doubt that Tony Blair butchered the constitution of this country. There is no doubt that Tony Blair put up taxes to a punitive level in this country. There's no doubt that many of us, when we were born, and certainly at my age, I feel like I used to live in a country that had a government. Now I feel ruled and owned by the government. Now I feel like everything I do requires a manual and a permission form from the government. That is what Tony Blair foisted upon Britain, and the ruinous collapse of the banking sector that resulted in a huge bailout to the people who failed in the first place. All of those things were foisted upon us, and the Conservatives, let's be honest, made it worse by adding to it uncontrolled immigration and allowing the small boats in. Robert Jenrick, I believe, had no choice. He eviscerated Kemi Badenoch in that leadership election, but there were just far too few genuine Conservatives left in the Conservative Party. And what did Bob Blackman say? The chairman of the 1922 committee. And I used to work for Bob Blackman. I was his press officer at the London Assembly. I don't dislike the man. But he stood up and he said on the day Kemi Badenoch was elected, well, that is another glass ceiling broken through. The first black woman to lead a political party. Well, let me tell you, if what you value about Kemi Badenoch is the colour of her skin and the fact she wears both a dress and has a vagina at the same time, which I admit is rare these days, but if that's all you value...
Has that been confirmed?
If that is all you value about her, then that proves you have no real interest in politics. You are just interested in the identity and diversity agenda of the political left. Whether she's good, bad or anywhere in between, she was elected because the Conservatives wanted a black woman. Didn't care about whether she was right-wing, didn't care whether she was any good. She's probably been a bit better than expected, but now it's time for a genuine right-wing party to come forward. And as far as I'm concerned, the number one thing they've got to do is get rid of all these regulations that rule our lives. Now, Asher's going to give his opinion in a couple of minutes, but I am going to introduce two people who've come on the show specially
wait for mine
tonight.
In a couple of minutes. You won't believe your ears when you hear what I've got to say.
Especially we've brought in tonight Reem Ibrahim, the head of media at the IEA, and Charles Amos, who's a writer on Conservative Home. The reason we brought these two in is because they are the two people who've been the leading voices, really, on this channel for Get Government Out of My Life brigade, and we need more people like that. So they're going to tell us what they think now Nigel Farage or Robert Jenrick should commit to, and what we need to do to save our country. And frankly, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. What they want is less government, more family, more community and more private sector. But Asher, your take on today?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's been doing well at PMQs, but that doesn't really matter anymore. And it's not a one-man band or one-woman band, and they're still tainted with the ridiculous mess they left this country in. And by the way, you know, Tony Blair, one of the main things, you know, he brought in about 30,000 laws in his time, and one of them in 2000 was to allow the government to cancel elections, which is obviously a conflict of interest, just as a prime example of the ridiculous destruction of our constitution. And now we're seeing them use it to actually cancel elections just for our own benefit on this tyrannical government we've got. So this is the mess we're in. So obviously we need a new way forward. And Jenrick's thinking, well, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm not going to be leader, I might have a chance, Tories are finished, reform of the future, and I may not be leader now, but maybe in 10, 15 years I could have the keys to number 10.
And what about those elections that have been cancelled? Just to remind you,
That's exactly it. Down to Blair.
Since the universal franchise, how many times have local elections been cancelled? Once at the tail end of the First World War, once at the tail end of the Second World War, then foot and mouth, then COVID, then last year, and then this year. That is 6 occasions, 4 of which are in the last 20 years. There you have it. Just tells you what's going on. Anyway, Reem Ibrahim, you are moving to Washington, D.C., so we won't see you in person that often. But look, my introduction is very, very clear. I'm sick of government telling me what to do. You, obviously, are somebody who's a libertarian and somebody who wants government out of people's lives. What do you think are the big things that need to change now to save this country?
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that public spending as a proportion of GDP is about 45%, right? It's a half the economy is the government, is absolutely insane. And the reason for this is because we saw tax rises last year, but it's not going to be the end. We're going to see tax rises again this year, and the year after, and the year after, and we're going to see taxes go up perpetually until somebody finally decides, let's reduce the size of the state, let's actually cut public spending. So what needs to be done is we need to cut public spending. If we want lower taxes, we have to reduce the size of the state.
Never going to happen with these backbenchers, though, is it?
Well, I'll tell you what we should do. We should, first of all, if I was Prime Minister, day one, abolish the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. Why does it exist?
Got it, yep.
Culture, media and sport all existed before government did. Let's get rid of that. Let's also means test the state pension. So only pensioners that actually need that money are receiving it and the millionaires aren't. Let's actually look at the benefit system in which 1 in 4 people are currently out of work and say, actually, if you are disabled, perhaps you're able to get that benefit. If you are unemployed for a period of time and you are not receiving a job, then fine, perhaps we'll be able to support you. But if you are offered a job and you refuse it, you do not get other taxpayers to pay for your lifestyle. That's the first thing I would do. I also just want to say, by the way, Charles over here is
beautiful.
Is beautiful. He's a beautiful man. I mean, look at the moustache, first of all.
Oh,
absolutely. That's a man.
It's like
beautiful.
a George Roper reincarnation.
Charles found me when I was how old was I? 18?
18.
I was an 18-year-old student at LSE, and Charles was at King's College London.
He was 14.
And he found me, and
you were 16 going on 17.
It was literally sound music. And Charles found me as a One Nation conservative.
Oh, really? And persuaded you?
Somebody that believed it. Being honest here, I'm telling the truth here. I was 18 and I thought, you know what, the NHS is great. You know what we need? We need the Conservatives.
And she said, after a debate that we'd had about transgenderism, she said...
In which Reem was in favour. No, she wasn't. She
was on the less controversial side on this occasion, actually saying we should allow for self-ID and women, people that claim to be women, to go into
do what they want,
women's bathrooms. And she said to me, oh, isn't libertarianism a bit babyish?
Oh.
Knowing that I was a libertarian.
I'll tell you what, Charles.
And I said,
I
don't think it is, actually.
Charles, when I look at your styling, like a baby, it is not. I mean, there's many things you can say. But Charles,
well, she was saying libertarianism.
Charles,
in the 60s, babies did wear that sort of
Charles, I want to ask you this question about public spending, right? And I think I know what you're going to give us the answer.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, there was investing, like in a bank, and there was public spending. Can you invest in more nurses in the NHS? Because what annoys me is when the government turns around and goes, we're investing £1 billion.
It's spending! It's just spending more of your hard-earned taxpayer money. That's all it is.
You can't invest in a nurse.
There's consumption spending, there's investment spending, and investment spending is that which increases the capital stock. And employing a nurse does not do that in any way. It's consumption spending. Might be good consumption spending, but it's consumption spending.
But what annoys me is when you get Labour politicians who've taken it so many... I'll tell you what I hate. I hate dishonesty and poor language in politics. So as an example, you might hate what happened in Israel, but it is not technically a genocide, right? Now you might not like what the IDF are doing, but genocide, no. Next point is this. I've seen somebody saying, in reference to increasing spending on the NHS, we have invested an extra £1 billion in the economy.
Every politician says that, though. They always talk about public spending as though it's investment. We've invested X amount in the NHS. We're investing billions in our schools. That is not, as you've just outlined, investing. Investment infers that there is a return that is going to happen. That is not investment, that is just spending. And the government have basically wasted away all of our money.
And it is waste, because a lot of these, like you see it with councils, with roadworks, we've got to use up the budget. So if we get a big budget, they'll just waste it. So
Actually, Charles, let me ask you that question, because that is an interesting interesting problem that I noticed in local government. So, it's really simple, and I think most people get this. If I'm in the private sector, what is it that that builds and enhances my reputation as a businessman? I would argue principally it's profit. To say my company made a profit of $500,000 last year, it made a profit of $1 million this year. Now, whether I own it or whether the shareholders doesn't matter. In local government, or indeed in any civil service, inevitably, what is the way of boosting your prestige? It's a bigger department with more money and more people, and therefore there always has to be the yin and yang of me as the head of a department wanting more people and somebody going, you can't have those. How can we control the bureaucracy, given that it naturally has a tendency to expand, and somebody who is sensible and rational will seek to expand the size of their department?
It's very, very difficult. I was on a parish council meeting recently arguing that a number of the staff just weren't value for money, and I was accused of behaviour that was, according to the deputy clerk, verging on bullying.
You'll get the police round your house.
When you are a libertarian trying to cut public spending,
yeah, but you can get the police round
you of these things.
It was Maxie Allen here from the Times who had his...
I think we need more libertarians to simply step up and go into public life, even if they're sighing whilst they're doing it, because libertarians on the whole want to be left alone, don't they? So they're not too keen.
Don't hurt me, don't touch my stuff.
Absolutely.
That's the principle of libertarianism.
They're not too keen on going along to council meetings where they really don't make that much progress, and it is quite a negative role being a libertarian.
And you
in
never
local
take
government.
your salary, did you?
I did not take my councillor's allowance. No, I did not.
Did you not give it to charity?
No. I just didn't take it. I just made sure taxpayers got a 1p one-off tax.
What about a local workhouse?
Did you hear that? He ensured that, because this is the most sound man ever. He said, I'm going to stand as a councillor, but I'm not going to take the money. I'm going to make sure my constituents get a 1p tax rebate, right?
Yep,
That's
what he did. 1p one-off.
I mean, obviously.
Did they all deserve it though? There would have been pensioners getting that.
Well,
right, I've got a brilliant
greedy pensioners.
I've got a great parish council story.
Yeah.
One of my mates who now works in the other place, he decided
the House of Lords.
there was a local parish council seat vacant in his area, and he discovered that they were going to co-opt somebody. So I don't know if you know, obviously in this room people do know, but you might not know that unlike county councils or district councils or unitary councils, parish councils can just co-opt people on, so they don't have to have full by-elections of the whole village when somebody resigns. So this bloke decided that he was going to run and went to the council meeting, and initially at the beginning of it complained about the lack of the democracy and demanded they have a by-election. But by the end of it, he'd watched the council meeting and become convinced that he never wants to go to another meeting again. And that parish council was Handforth Parish Council. Jackie Weaver!
Oh,
will you be quiet, Mrs. Weaver?
We have no authority here, Jackie Weaver!
By the way, Jackie Weaver was in the wrong, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
There was no doubt. But he said what was quite funny was they then had a by-election on his account where only one person stood, and it was the bloke they were going to co-opt anyway. So there you have it.
Anyway, look, we've got a little breaky, haven't we? We've got Charles here. That's Charles Amos, mate. It's 70s throwback, but he doesn't realise it. And we've got Reem Ibrahim, who's moving to America to escape and re-enjoy her freedom of speech, which she can't do here. It's Andre and Ash, 03444991000 if you want to talk to us. And you can send a WhatsApp message on that if you're a bit scared to come on live. Anyway, we'll be back in a jiffy.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to tell you a little story about something that happened to me a few years ago and see what you think of this. This is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Charles Amos and Reem Ibrahim. So, a few years ago, and if you've heard this before, I apologise, which is one of the things from the Andre Walker bingo that the staff played, but if you heard it before, I apologise. A few years ago, in my hometown of Lee, they were doing up all of the houses. They were sandblasting all the Victorian terrace houses. They were putting back the stone work in them, what they call coins, and all of the bottoms.
Yeah, I've heard this one. I'll just go and do something else.
Absolutely. and so,
I think.
And I met this bloke.
I've not.
I met this bloke, and I said to him, God, you're in one of those streets that they've done up. They looked amazing. New doors, new windows, new stone window sills, everything. I said, God, you live in one of those streets? He said, yes. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I think it's disgraceful, those 2 or 3 people per street who've not had their houses redone. And he said, well, I own one of those houses. And I said, what? And he said, well, let me tell you. He said, if you owned your house and had a job, you had to pay £4,000 to have that done. If it was a council house, you got it for free. Or if you were unemployed or on sickness benefit, you got it for free. And he said, I couldn't afford the £4,000. So what happened to me very simply was this. Everyone on my street who doesn't have a job got it done for free. And I have to walk past their beautiful houses and go into mine, which looks, and I'm sorry for the language, shit. And it's a permanent reminder that I am an idiot for having gone to work every day.
And not only that, people who bought the council flats and have cladding on, they're lumbered with the bill, whereas the rent is nothing.
So if you
£100,000.
So if you go to these towns where the houses have been redone, spur a thought for the person that is in the dump of a house. He's the person that's got a job. Anyway, with that in mind, a gang that stole £54 million from the taxpayer, but has only given back £1 million, have now started claiming benefits again. A Bulgarian woman who played a role in Britain's biggest ever welfare fraud has been ordered to pay back all of her ill-gotten gains. She was jailed for years, but once she was released from prison, she started claiming benefits again. Now look, I think there are a couple of issues here. Issue number one, I'll let Charles and Reem go for it, because that's what they do.
Yep.
Issue number one, Bulgarian national claiming benefits, right? If they can't work in the UK, they should be returning to their country of origin, is point number one. Point number two, I am sick of the way that Northern England has been destroyed by benefits. People at 18 who aren't given a job after 18 months are on special brew, right? And they never work again. That kills them. People are being sent to a premature death by benefits. And also, and this will be the argument against what you've said about pensions, which I agree with fundamentally. People will say, I pay punitive taxes in order to fund all of these boat people, and the only thing I ever get back in return is a couple of quid during my retirement. Now, I see you rolling your eyes. I don't disagree with you rolling your eyes.
Yeah.
But I think fundamentally we've got to say the following. You know, we can either...
The government is bad. That's it.
No,
the government have lied to you.
We can either have uncontrolled immigration or we can have benefits, but we can't have both. But even if we do have benefits, we've got to give it to people who need it.
Right.
Only British-born people, really.
Throwing people on the scrap heap to drink special brew for 20 years is killing them, Charles.
Yeah.
I agree entirely. We need to cut the benefits bill. It's much, much too large. And as Reem has said, 1 in 4 working age people are out of work in this country. As I've said on this programme before, if we can't abolish the welfare state entirely, and I don't think need is a legitimate claim on other people's property rights, then I think we should bring back the workhouse. It was a very popular policy, at least amongst the politicians, I should add, in the Victorian age, or just before it rather, and I think it would be a good idea.
But it would be a modern,
today.
updated one, like one of those Lenny Henry hotels. It wouldn't be like a Dickensian thing, would
Why
it?
can't we have a Dickensian thing? The whole point...
That's a good idea, yeah, make it, yes.
The whole point of the workhouse is it implements this principle of less eligibility. It implements the principle of less eligibility, which is it's got to be worse than the worst kind of job.
Would you separate
available.
husband and wife? Like they would in the workhouse?
Well, Charles,
perhaps
Charles,
if it really puts people off from
Charles,
going into the workhouse,
can I tell you what I liked about the totality of that system? And it's this. I've always said the following. Imagine now, you, Charles, lost your job. Right, and we were under the old system where
he's a driving instructor, by the way.
Your parish.
Can you teach me how to drive?
No, hang on. Under that system,
it's a traffic
under that system, your parish had to look after you, so you weren't allowed to starve to death. Now, the way I would imagine, if it was only your parish, point number one, the people of the parish would be paying, so they would know the people who receive the benefits.
Good alliteration.
Point number two, if you lost your job, what I would say to you is I'd go, Charles, we are going to pay you unemployment benefits, but you're going to have to teach in the school whilst you receive it. If you know the people who are claiming the benefits and it's your money, there'll be a greater tendency to push them back into work.
They have no shame. They don't care if people know who they are, if people understand that they are the people that are claiming the benefits. They don't care. They've got no shame. The fact of the matter is there are increasing numbers of young people our age, I know Charles don't look that young, but young people that are now claiming benefits as a result of their mental health. You know, those.
But that mental health thing, in my experience, no, I think it becomes true. So let me explain what I mean.
Well,
they talk themselves into it.
When they start, they are capable of work. 3 years later, they're in an appalling physical and mental state.
The problem is the fact of the matter is they're not being offered the job in the first place.
They're not being forced into the job in the first place.
The economy is so abysmal at the moment that there aren't the vacancies available. The government increased national insurance contributions for employers, which made employing people more expensive. The government also introduced the Employment Rights Bill, which is, of course, making employers very scared about employing people. And then we're in a situation where...
By the way, can we just stop this for 1 second? Whoever is sending photos of the contents of their wallet, can you please just stop?
I'll get the numbers. By the way, this woman who stole 53 million in the fraud, does she get 3 years? That's bigger than the British.
Well, apparently she was found to have personally earned £263,514 from the benefits scam.
But that's like the Brinks-Mat robbery. And also, if you get benefits...
That's £250,000!
I know, and you're not meant to be able to claim benefit if you've got a certain amount in your bank account. They didn't find it. They know she's got 53 million in the balance, a quarter of a million.
I fear, Charles, with tax in this country right now, it's easy come, easy go for the civil servants. 53 million got stolen. During COVID, it was a bonanza of theft, and nobody seemed to care.
Like confetti.
It's an unfortunate situation for us to be in.
Government bad. Like, that's it. The government have increasingly taking your money through taxes. And look, I do feel for all the pensioners in this country that have basically been lied to their entire lives. But my God, it's not fair.
But I think
I don't feel that sorry for them, because we've always had a national debt in this country. And if you've had a national debt in this country for year after year after year, that shows that the average person has taken more out than they've paid in. I mean, it just has to be that.
Well, no, it could be a fraud. You know what I mean? It might not be the old people doing it. Like this COVID thing, billions went missing.
If you look at how much money the government spends and where the money's being spent on, it's based like pensions.
But it goes into fat cats and their own mates.
Almost double
public-private companies.
No, almost double the entire budget of the Ministry of Defence is spent on state pensions alone.
That's 137 billion pounds.
But I think what I would say to you,
and 25% of them are millionaires.
Got it.
They don't need it.
All right, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think the critical point here for our viewers and listeners would be, in the world that you, Charles, and you, Reem, envisage, where taxes, say, at 15% or something, I don't think people would mind not having a state pension. The problem is, what they see is exactly what will happen under Labour and the Conservatives, which is, we'll cut the state pension, won't cut the punitive taxes. What we'll do is we'll just find a load more.
So then we're in Groundhog Zero. We're just going to continue going down the path of decline.
But if you want a balanced budget, that does mean that you have to pay the same and get less. I mean, we've been living at the expense of tomorrow forever now, or for a very long period of time.
That's why you've got to get out.
It's actually important
get out while
that the budget is balanced, and that unfortunately means that you have the same level of taxes and lower benefits.
But let me give you the example of Slough. Right, to the west of London. Right, Slough...
I used to work in Slough.
Slough basically has an area that is quite poor, which is kind of the Slough itself, if you like.
And then you've got Windsor.
And an area that's phenomenally wealthy, which is the Slough Trading Estate. And when the Conservatives took control of Slough Council, they said, what do you think we should do? And I said, well, there is one critical difference between this trading estate and the council area, the rest of it, which is the trading estate can grant itself planning permission. That is, the owner of property can build whatever they want. Now, my thought is, well, surely the solution then is to effectively abolish building regulations in the rest of Slough. And that is to say, oh, if you buy a piece of land and want to build a 50-storey skyscraper on it, get on with it. And they said, oh, God, we can't do that. And I thought, well, hang on a second. Given that you are geographically next to each other, given that you're subject to every single other regulation that's the same other than planning, I can't understand why. And the reason why is you've got planning inspectors and local councillors who love this power. Whereas what I would say is just get rid of that whole system.
You're like John Benjamin, come German bombs fall on Slough. Anyway,
It isn't fit for humans now.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. No, very good, yeah. And by the way, don't worry about the workhouse. It's not such a bad idea. I know you're all thinking Gruel, but we found out, because Andre found out, Gruel is actually Ovaltine and Horlicks.
Horlicks, yeah. Let's not get into
What is
And on that
Horlicks?
bombshell,
Horlicks is Gruel.
we're going to be talking about pensions with him. We'll talk about Gruel in the break, back in 2 minutes. So anyway, Gruel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and our guest co-hosts this evening are Reem Ibrahim and Charles Amos. Reem, you are moving to Washington, D.C. to push the case of liberty over there. Explain.
I'm very excited. So I'm going to be there on a research scholarship. I'm joining an organisation called the Reason Foundation. I'm very excited, but I'm going to be doing lots of writing and video work and effectively...
Both on cam and off cam.
Both off cam and off cam. The reason why I'm so excited is because I think that the United Kingdom is going down a rabbit hole of socialism.
Yes.
And the only way to learn how to fight for my country, that is Great Britain, I've got to learn from the best. I've got to learn from the land of the free, and that is America.
And you'll have, of course, I mean, you must have thought about this. You'll be able to tweet about what's going on here with more freedom.
Yeah.
Well, not at all. Graham Linehan, Irish citizen, tweeting from Arizona.
Oh yeah, you won't be able to come back ever again.
Yeah.
You'll get armed
I'll
police.
come back to
arrested
visit. I'll come
at the
back to
airport.
visit Mum and Dad, and then the Met Police will be around with their guns.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there aren't that many gun-owned police officers, but 5 of them decided to go up and arrest Graham Linehan. They'll be able to say, I mean, the problem is actually...
They must have, I'll tell you what, they must have absolutely wet themselves when he began having heart palpitations.
God, and then he had to go to the hospital. If they killed him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not laughing at this because it's funny, but can you imagine if he'd have died? Right? It would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
5 armed police kill Graham Linehan.
They've killed Father Ted.
That would have been utterly abysmal. Yeah, look, I mean, we don't have free speech in the UK, but there are so many things I could compare the UK and the US to, and I think that's really what I'm excited about this new role, is that I'm going to be able to look at UK and US comparisons. One example is energy. The cost of net zero in the UK is absolutely astronomical.
5 times. Our industry pays 5 times more than the States.
It's enormous, and I've noticed this just even looking at petrol costs, even in California, which is the most left-wing state in the US, where they have actually increased taxes on petrol. You can fill up your tank in the US for about half the cost that you can in the UK, and that's only in California.
And they still moan about it. That's what gets me.
And they still moan about it. This is the mental thing. We don't realise in the UK we are purposefully and intentionally making ourselves poorer.
Oh yes.
This is not just some kind of, outsized impact, the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, whatever. No. This is because of our own policies.
But Reem, I went. Only because I just happened to be there socially, but I went to Port Talbot. Look, when they said moving to a green economy, what they meant was punitive taxes on things like steel smelting in exchange for buying windmills.
The irony is we need the steel to build the windmills.
And we import it from China.
And we import it. It's not
and we buy the
suddenly
windmills
green
from China.
if we just didn't do it ourselves.
Be greener.
This is the insane thing. They actually think, oh, well, it's green if we just don't do it ourselves.
And then we don't pump oil and we buy it from Norwegian who get it from the same oil well.
Talking, Charles, about this whole situation, Asher gave a statistic the other day, which I'm sure is right, that when Tony Blair came to power in 1997, British people and Americans basically had the same standard of living in terms of the amount of stuff they could buy or whatever. Now, basically, we earn half as much as Americans. Now, the reality is, it has been because of a deliberate policy by our government to increase tax and increase regulations. Surely, is there nobody in Westminster who looks at this and goes, let's just copy what the Americans did?
The Americans, by the way, their average wage is about £50,000, about $65,000.
Ours is about 30.
And the poorest state in America, which is Minnesota, is still better off.
No, Mississippi.
Mississippi is still better off than the average.
And you know Douglas Carswell, who is the one and only UKIP Member of Parliament for the United Kingdom, good man. He's now at a think tank in Mississippi, and he's done some amazing work over there, where they've completely abolished, they're about to completely abolish income tax. Completely.
Do you know,
income tax.
in the times of Nelson, we only had 4% income tax. But by the way,
but Mississippi is the poorest state in America, the poorest state,
and we're worse off.
And they are richer than the UK.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised. I think it is a testament, Charles, to the ingenuity of the British people that we are not even poorer than we are.
I think the main problem that Britain faces is NIMBYism. It's our planning system that just stops anything from being built, and it is socialism because the development rights of land are entirely nationalised, and that means we have house prices which are 8 times the national average, which is double what it was in history. It's just ridiculous, and that stops any sort
a lot of money as
industry
well. It's printing
built.
The money as well. That's
quantitative easing.
But you're right. I mean,
look
look at
I'd still say it's
HS2. Just to add another lane on a road, it can take 25, 30 years because it has to go to this committee, that committee, and by the time it's 25, 30 years.
Well, so the other thing we should do is abolish the Town and Country Planning Act to make it easier to actually.
China, they'll make a big road, 200 miles in a month.
I'll tell you the worst bit about it, and I warn those of you who are going into local government for the first time, the Town and Country Planning Association. So what will happen is your planning officers. Now, look, fairly obviously there is a sensible way to deal with planning, which is to have, if you're going to have the system, have local councillors negotiate with developers. No, that's not what happens. What happens is they have these professional planning officers. Those planning officers will recommend not what the public have decided in their neighbourhood plan or whatever, but what they will do is they will conform to the professional standards of the Town and Country Planning Association. So literally every planning application that gets put forward is simply an identical copy of whatever was decided at this London Trade Association. But here's the stupid thing. what happened in Poundbury, built on the green belt by King Charles, I thought was sensible. What he turned around and he said, right, he started with no plan. He literally said, what do you want from your new village? And they'd go, right, well, we want
Did you do his voice? You do it very well.
We want a cinema, of course.
No, that's them. You say, what do you want from your village as Prince Charles?
So what would happen is he'd go, well, if we want a cinema, then we're going to have to put an extra layer on each house, so they've got 4 bedrooms rather than 3, right? And literally worked out for... And what he said is happening with local government planning is this. They design an ugly big box, and then argue with the councillors and argue with the planners until it's a slightly smaller, ugly big box, right? And I've got a friend of mine who's trying to build a hotel. He has spent $500,000 in plans. $500,000 in plans. Do you know what I wanted? I wanted him to build...
What was the cost of the land?
It was like...
Do you remember they spent 40 million on the planning of that garden bridge?
You're being much too sort of kind, or rather harsh, to the planners. If we were to follow what the people wanted, then we'd have even more restrictive housing
we wouldn't build anything
today. At least the planners do actually push with the National Planning Policy Framework to get
Well, look at
houses
Heathrow
built.
Airport. We've won 50 years. We've been trying to get a new runway.
Third runway, yeah.
I'll tell you what I did when I was a political advisor in Windsor and Maidenhead. I did the ultimate thing. So everybody would go, let's not expand Heathrow. So I advocated, shut it down. And I'll tell you what, they virtually lynched me. And I'll tell you why. Because they are all economically reliant on Heathrow in West London, or many of them are, and they don't want Heathrow to evolve. So I said, right, well, let's just close it. It's a stupid place to put it anyway. We could sell it for housing and make a lot of money. And they all went wild.
They were originally going to put the London airport in the centre of King's Cross, and there was this massive sort of...
To be fair to the people that are opposing
fantastic.
Heathrow, though, they do need to demolish a village in order to build a third runway in.
They destroyed Heathrow
And
Village.
I think we should respect.
It was beautiful.
We should respect private property rights. So we should
but-
not demolish
okay,
a village
okay.
just to increase GDP.
Okay, Sipson,
got
I
a
think it's called. But let me tell you something. Most people, right, when HS2 was going to go through
Sipson's so
my
rubbish.
village, right, my dad was desperate for it to happen. And I'll tell you the reason.
we could get the
Because you get 120% of pre-blight. So if your house was worth 200 grand, they'll give you 240.
I thought you get less normally from
No,
these
you get-
compulsory
They
purchases.
give you more, yeah.
They give you more. The only problem, the only time
It's
when
still
that
theft,
was a bit,
though. It's still land
It is
theft,
theft
'cause it's
But
taking property
The only
without
thing,
consent.
the only thing that was weird was when Lance Foreman versus the London Development Agency, where the blight was positive. That is to say that normally what they do is they go, we'll give you the pre-blight price plus 20%, but his pre-blight price was less than the value of the property after the blight.
Oh, what a man.
So,
Anyway, look, 0344 499 1000. We're going to go away for a couple of minutes and continue our conversation about gruel since I opened the Ovaltine window. 0344 499 1000. It's Talk. It's Andre and Ash with Reem and Charles.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Charles Amos and Reem Ibrahim. Charles, you are not as concerned about grok, perhaps, as some other people. So the government wants to make grok illegal. I think it's just to stymie free speech. Your view?
Not at all. I think grok should be fully legal, and I think it's a moral application too. If individuals should be free to imagine girls naked in their head, as I think they should be free to do, I don't see any problem why they imagine them on a computer too.
Certainly, it's not imagining them, though, is it?
I do not think the dignity of women is in any way infringed against by men thinking of them naked, and so I don't think.
What about if your mother was putting a bikini online now? Your mother,
by grok, is offending their dignity either. That is my case.
You haven't answered my question. If your mother was put on there in a bikini, or grandmother,
I wouldn't like it, but I don't think anybody would be doing anything wrong in doing so.
You'd accept it anyway.
Yeah, I'd accept it.
Can I just say, I agree with Charles. And this is the interesting thing,
She usually does.
I think he'd enjoy it.
The thing is, if I, for example, decided that I wanted to know what I looked like in a yellow bikini, because I thought, you know what, I've got North African skin tone, I don't know if the yellow is going to look quite right on my skin.
It would be a nice contrast.
I want to know, would I look nice in the yellow bikini? And what happens is, I put myself into grok and I say, grok, put me in a yellow bikini. And I wanted to see what I look like, and I thought, you know what, I might buy a yellow bikini. That is obviously a legitimate use of grok for that reason.
I never thought of it like that.
That is now illegal. That is now banned as a result of the new actions.
And you could do it on ChatGPT. You could do, and also they could have said just ban that feature, but they've said ban X. It's obvious they're doing.
But why did they ban
Dutch
the
woman.
feature? We also got to realise, by the way, everybody's talking about grok as being this AI that is able to undress people. It cannot undress you. It is creating a CGI computer.
It actually makes them look a bit better than in real life. I think.
You trust me, honey. You
It
know,
does.
it's that good. Like AI makes you look fantastic, and if anything, it's a compliment. No, the point is, look, I wasn't very comfortable about the fact that there were lots of people in my comments making me into these videos of me in a bikini and, you know, going about. You know what I did think?
Jiggling.
Wow.
You're thinking, oh, I look good in turquoise.
I literally was about to say that. I thought, you know what, navy blue is not a bad colour on me. And
you're all for it.
what it did make me realise is I'm not that I'm upset. It's like, oh, it's a bit gross. And I like.
What would you think if people like Charles were doing it in their own home time?
Oh, he can do what he wants in his own home.
It's a compliment in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He just thinks I'm good looking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you wouldn't do it to someone if you didn't think they were good.
No,
and
look,
you could, of course, do it on Photoshop.
If you are a 15-year-old boy and you have a crush on your friend in school and you draw a picture of naked in your diary, should that be illegal?
But if you're under 16,
that
that's different. If you're under 18, though.
And I would say, is it even wrong or is it even bad? I don't see it as wrong.
I think it's wrong. I think
it's bad.
It's a bit weird and a bit creepy.
But what? Weird? I agree.
Yeah.
But why is it bad or wrong?
Well, I think it's a bit weird.
No, I agree. It's weird. But why is it even bad? If it's not bad to imagine a woman in your head naked, why is it bad to imagine
maybe
them on
they
the
should
computer?
make it illegal to think about a naked woman in your head.
Okay, great. So they get 1984 government surveillance in your brain.
The justification.
Are you thinking of a naked woman?
Well, I am now. The justification that supports this ban on grok is the same justification that would support mind control. Make no mistake about it, because they're saying we've got to ban grok because it's offending the dignity of women, that women are imagined through a computer generation by men. Well, if I imagine
we've got a picture of you in a bikini. I haven't done it. Chuck's done it.
Let me see.
Computer. If I imagine a woman in my mind, that has got to be a gross violation of their dignity.
Hold it to that camera.
But that should not be illegal. But the government's
the other
reasoning
camera
would say it
Which
should
camera
be
am I
illegal.
holding it to?
Yeah, we're zooming in. Here he is.
Which camera is it? Oh, there we go.
Are you offended? Because I am.
No, I'm not offended.
I am disgusted.
No.
I actually quite like that.
We were doing this at the pub earlier.
Yeah, that's not actually grok.
But to be fair, and look, this is not what we said the other day about it, but your line is very simple. That is not a picture of Charles Amos.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's a fake. It's an AI AI-generated
that's
CGI
real.
image.
Well, you can't tell, can you?
What's
It's not
wrong with
real,
imagining
for
things?
You got a big
And
lunchbox.
also,
Is that
can I just
realistic?
say, I have somewhat of a problem with all the young women that have put themselves into bikinis using grok and then
Nipples
posted
like
about
Scania
it,
wheel nuts.
and then complained about the fact that everybody's seen them in a bikini on grok. It's like, why did
Seen
you?
them in the bikini.
Yeah, the AI-generated version of them in a bikini. Why, if you're so upset about it, why did you post the photo of you in a bikini?
yeah.
Are you just an attention seeker?
Yeah.
Because I think so.
What about my intellectual property? What about saying, well, hang on a second, I own this photo of myself. Why have you stolen it? And
Well, I
turned it
personally
Do
don't
not
believe
have
in
a right
intellectual property.
to your image.
Do you believe in intellectual property?
No, I don't.
But if you took the picture, you own it, don't you?
If
You own the
somebody steals
copyright.
the
No,
physical
but that's-
version, yes. But
No,
if they
but
take
you
a
own the
picture of
digital
your
one.
picture,
yeah.
then they're not stealing anything.
If I
from
take a
you.
picture of you right now...
Well, you will own the copyright, and you'd have to get paid if it was published.
You have no-
exactly, I took the picture, but
Yeah.
there's nothing to do with you.
Do you remember
don't
when a
get to own
monkey
that.
took its own picture and it went to court to see if the monkey had rights because it had pressed the button and the man argued, but he lost. The monkey
That's
did not
really
have
funny.
rights.
Monkeys deserve rights.
Oh, by the way,
I'd
you've
agree
got a
with
big exclusive in the reveal about pensions, haven't you? You've done an investigation. What's your what have you learned?
25% of pensioners are millionaires, and so we need to means test it and abolish the state pension for those who don't need it.
But the more relevant
That's
statistic
mean
is
testing.
if you look at the bottom quintile of pensioners, you'll find they spend 17% of their income on leisure. They do not need
Wasteful
the
pensioners.
full
so we
state
should cut it
pension
then.
to support themselves.
But they've paid in more tax throughout their lives.
Oh,
for
I
that.
pay tax, you pay tax, you pay
Yeah,
tax.
well, I
you
want
pay
my
tax,
pension
should we
and I
get
want my bus.
benefits?
I want my bus
Should
pass and pension.
everybody get benefits? We should just have socialism, universal credit, because you all pay in, you'll get out. Should we all just have universal basic income?
I don't-
Socialism.
Boomers have taken £1.20 out of the welfare state.
Maybe
for
people who haven't
every
paid enough in
£1
shouldn't
they
get
have
it.
Paid in.
Maybe those who haven't paid in shouldn't get it and live in the workhouse, and the ones who have paid it get a better pension because we lag
I
behind
agree.
Germany and France. So you agree the richer pensioners should get it, and
No.
the poorer ones should live in the workhouse.
That's not the point. If
In the
just
ideal
because
world,
you-
we wouldn't have a state
Okay,
pension.
Should Lord Alan
Or
Sugar?
pensioners.
Should Lord Alan Sugar?
No, just in
a
general, no.
multi-
Should Lord Alan Sugar? No, is the answer.
A
Yeah, but he's paid billions
multi-millionaire.
into hundreds of
Should
millions.
Lord Alan Sugar get a taxpayer fund? No. We're paying for it. To be clear,
He's paid millions.
We are paying for Lord Alan
But
Sugar's
he's paid millions into
pension.
the coffers.
Doesn't matter. We
No,
are paying.
he'd say it matters.
We're paying for his pension.
Well, he wouldn't care anyway, would he?
Ash,
But
where's the
he
money
just-
come? Well, that's it. He wouldn't care because he's got enough money. So why should
Yeah.
the millionaires get it?
Well, that's a
That is
multi-millionaire, though.
exactly-
That's a bad
No,
example.
no.
What about someone who's worth 2 million?
Shouldn't get it. Why should a millionaire get taxpayer?
Well, because you might be
fund
worth
benefits?
that because your house you bought in
Sell the
1983.
house.
If we're privatising the state,
poor
though,
old
I think
people.
those who have paid in more should get more out of the privatisation process. So if we've got £1 trillion of state assets, which we might well do as the taxpayer, then I think
As we're selling them
when they are privatised, the wealthiest should get the most and the poorest should get the least. To nothing, actually, because they're net takers.
I don't agree with that. To be fair.
So how
I
would you
just-
privatise the state?
Well, I would sell it off to the highest bidder, get the most amount of money
But don't you? Well, and then redistribute the proceedings to
to those who have paid taxes.
and that's the wealthiest who have paid the most.
Yeah, perhaps.
So
yeah.
you agree with me?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Do you hate lollipop ladies like Charles does?
Well,
He
I
really
don't- I
he
don't
loathes
hate
the
them.
sight of them.
I don't hate them, but I do think they are a waste of taxpayer money.
No, Charles actually hates them.
There are
hate
£7 million to £8 million net cost to society.
Can we speak to Janice? Can we speak to... Can we talk? We've got a call flooded in. We've got a few calls. Let's put Janice in. She's one of our favourites. Janice!
Hi, Janice.
She's got dancing rats. Her house is in such a bad state.
Oh, Janice, I'm
Her
so
ceiling's
sorry.
fallen down and her boiler doesn't work.
Oh,
Go on,
Janice,
Janice,
sorry.
away you go.
Well, I don't know if you think this is a good thing with Genric. What I would actually like is Ian. I've
Collins.
forgotten his name now.
Ian Collins.
Ian?
Ian Collins.
Long name. Three names. Got 3 names. No, I love Ian Collins. No, that's
Ian Duncan
your guy.
Smith.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah, got it.
Alexander Graham Bell.
Redwood.
Jedward.
No, Redwood. Not the
John
Jedward, mate.
Redwood. The giant Redwood.
Yeah. I'd
Oh,
like him, and
Jenrick.
I'd
Bob
like-
Jenrick. Bobby
Oh,
Jenrick.
we've got him.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, you're playing a game with me. Right, I will. Ben Wallace, let him have them 3, and let's get some young uns in. Let him get
They always say
some
the young uns are
young
good.
little grassroots. Oh, and then I think they've got a perfect party.
Thanks, Janice. What do you think about... can you repeat, Janice? They missed that. Start from the beginning. Janice in Essex. Away you go.
Oh, for goodness sake, I've got bloody repeat it all.
No, just think of something. Say another one.
It's wonderful to talk to you guys, because you're my favourites. Don't tell anybody else that.
I won't. Have you got any questions for Reem or Charles?
Hi, Janice.
We've got the young generation here.
Who am I talking to?
Well, we've got Reem and Charles. They're both in their 20s. They're the future. What have you got to tell them?
Reem.
Yeah.
Reem. You said Reem?
Yeah, you know Reem and Charles.
Reem. Oh, could I please say, Reem must know me from when I used to talk on, well, I say used to, when I used to talk on Channel 5.
Did you used to come on Channel 5?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Twice a week. And guess what? They brought a new format, 9:15 till 3. I phoned up and said, well, they told me, you've got to phone 2 minutes before we tell you what the subject is.
Jeremy Vibe actually calls you up.
No, hang on. No, first of all, they let me hold on.
We do it as a bit of light relief.
No, they cut me off completely.
I'm so sorry. I'll talk to the producers. Don't worry.
You can always call us, though.
They cut me off. No one let me on anymore now.
I'm not surprised. But we love you coming on, Janice.
Great.
Do you call any other shows that we don't know about that you didn't tell us about?
No.
No, you sure?
Only you, mate, because it's you two.
You're at Babe Station. You used to work there, didn't you?
Since PP was
By the way, before we go, how's the house going on? Because your ceiling's falling down, you've got no boilers, you've got dancing rats on your bed.
I've got no rat stuff. The rats were out in someone's car.
Oh, good. You got rid of the rats. What about the...
I'll give you a little bit of an update on my neighbour.
Yeah.
They've gone on holiday. Right. Oh, well, I'm playing my music. I get 1 week out of the year where I'm playing music. Oh, well. The other
what kind of music, Janice?
Side,
but that makes the rats dance. What music do you play?
Everything.
I don't know that one.
It. I've got... well, you might not know everything, but I've got loads of CDs, but I can't play them.
Oh, nice CDs.
Because
why not?
They're so boring.
We'll get some
boring
new...
people.
Have you not got a streaming service?
No.
Oh, no, that's right, because you don't even listen to us on a computer. You actually phone us up to listen to the show down the telephone.
Yeah, I do. A lot.
So you want us to leave you on hold after this, don't you?
Yeah, because I like you guys. Full of phone up.
Why don't you get a radio?
We love you, Janice.
But they need me hanging on.
Why don't you keep me hang? Why don't you get a radio, Janice?
I can sing that, but I can't sing.
Give it a go.
I was going to do that one.
Go on, I want to hear you sing.
Diana Ross, mate.
Go on, sing some Diana Ross.
And the lady sing, because she's got the lady voice, hasn't she? Bit of Diana Ross, mate.
She has got a lady's. She has a lady's voice.
I can only do Disney, though.
Watch Reem a lot of times. She's lovely.
Anyway, thanks, Janice.
Lovely.
She loves
Thanks,
that.
Janice. You're
and
so
Charles.
sweet.
Thank you, Janice. Anyway, yeah, we've got 1 minute. Anything else you want to tell us about? And you're going. When are you going?
31st of Jan.
So you're going to come in before, maybe just before you go, you can come in?
Yeah, I'll come in. I'll come in just to say hello to you.
But we'll Zoom you when there's anything going on in America.
Hell yeah, I'll be over in DC. You can talk to me whatever you want, whenever you want, whenever you want.
She's going to publish my articles.
Oh, and aren't you going to... Isn't there something with Charles, possibly? Or,
Charles?
Is he going to Washington or something?
Why don't you come to Washington?
Go on!
Come on!
Maybe in the future.
You'd be a hit in Washington, man.
There's a lot more libertarians in America than there are here.
Can I also just say, by the way, in America, they know what freedom means. They know what liberty means, and they fight for it. And my God, we need more of that in this country.
We do. We've forgotten all about
That's
that.
why Reem is deserting us.
Certainly do. Certainly do.
You can go with.
Well, good luck, Reem, in the United States of America. If you want to call about anything you've heard about, 0344 499 1000.
Yeah, and of course you can leave us a WhatsApp message there. In the next bit, we're going to be talking to our mate Pete Barnes. He's a political strategist, and obviously it's going to be all about gender reform, what's going on, is the other Tories, is that the final nail in the coffin? Are the other Tories going to now jump ship? The Rats deserting a sinking ship? Well, we'll be finding out with Pete Barnes after the new news. You listen to Talk, it's Andre and Ash, back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk. Across.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes, and this is the press preview for those of you listening in the morning. Now, obviously, literally, people have been in touch with me on Twitter wanting Pete to talk about the Robert Jenrick story, and he will do that. But there is a piece of news that is breaking. Well, it's not breaking right now, but it's just come to our attention. A Freedom of Information request was submitted by the Centre for Migration Control about what percentage of people who have stolen from other passengers on the train were not born in the United Kingdom. The answer to that is 80%. So that means that for every 5 thefts on the train, 4 of the suspects were born outside the UK. Now, I have to say one thing, I don't want to be racist. Certain groups will gravitate towards certain offences. But me and Asher, and I think Pete as well, have said in the past that one of the big problems with migration is that people don't feel a sense of belonging in a community and therefore are more likely to commit crime. I would suggest to you that if you're commuting every day to work on the train and your family does as well, you're not going to steal anyone's iPhone on it. Or rather, you'd be less likely to. Pete, we saw those statistics from Robert Jenrick today about the number of people coming to this country who are contributing. I think it's despicable the way that people say Britain was built by migrants. I think some immigration is sensible where there is a gap of skills. But when you're talking about, 75% of everyone who's come to the country in the past 20 years is a net recipient from the taxpayer rather than a net contributor. And you get statistics like this, 80% of train thefts. We are it's not the brightest and the best. It's the stupidest and the least educated.
Yes, and also our brightest and best are leaving because of it's the knock-on effect that we've also got to talk about. But these statistics, like we say, they're not a surprise, but yet we have to keep throwing them in people's faces to actually get any amount of change done, to actually people to confront the narratives that they have been told for a very long time about diversity is our strength and all these people need help and they're all doctors and nurses and everybody's wonderful. They have to start to break that. It's starting to break. I don't think the Overton window has moved as far as some people think it has in terms of how far people are willing to go to fix this problem. But I also say that we have a civic problem as well. Whilst we have the foreign element, we don't feel like we're one nation at the moment. I don't know about you. I feel
we're separate, parallel societies.
But I feel like everybody's in a parallel society.
But it's our society belongs to
even our society,
British.
Even the people that are born here, I feel like that is dividing and dividing again. And I feel we need to find a way to unify.
But isn't that what they're doing, dividing and ruling? This government know the future isn't bright or orange. They know there's going to be problems, and the more splits they can have, the more that if you're not homogenous, then you're not going to be able to kick off about it.
I've talked to you before about rugby. It's not because I have any particular interest in rugby. It's just because it's a subject that I think a lot of northern people understand. And I went with my nephew to a rugby competition in Warrington, right? And literally, and I'm just going to say this straight out, there was one black kid there. There were hundreds and hundreds of white kids. Now,
Lenny Henry wouldn't be happy.
What you might say is that rugby is discriminatory against black people or Asian people. I find that quite hard to believe. But the reason why I think there was only one black kid there is because it's not their tradition. Had it been cricket, it would have been. There would have been quite a lot. And so what you're talking about here is you're talking about my mate, who was the mayor of the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, Asghar Majid. He said when he was growing up in Keighley, he said people didn't know who the Prince of Wales was. Right? He said it just wasn't our world. Our world was the mosque, taxi driving, and whatever. And we are in a position where we have parallel countries existing simultaneously.
Yes, and I always think that you via and David Stark made this point, is we never cut the strings. So everybody is still linked to wherever they came from.
Yes.
And that is the problem. When you look at the American experiment in the melting pot, they always made it very clear that you were African American. You are Irish American.
Yes.
They kept that identity.
Because they were proud of their identity.
But
And
also,
here we run ourselves
it gave that
down.
unifying point. It gave that thing that no matter where you came from, that is what you were. And that's what the point of America was.
But it was built by immigration, America, in a way.
Yeah, America definitely was. But my point is that when we've tried to do...
There was something binding us together.
There's binding us together. That's the point.
Well, there's that scene in The Bridge of Spies where Tom Hanks says, look, I'm Irish, and he says to the FBI agent, you're German. What brings us together is the American Constitution. We're all immigrants. What's happening in Britain is that we are just bringing people to the country and creating, well, look, I call it the two-state solution, where you have, and I talked about this, and by the way, I want to ask about Aston Villa, because I've not seen him since the Craig Guilford thing, and I've not seen you either. I say that there is a two-state solution in Birmingham. There are some people who live in the United Kingdom, and there are other people who live in a type of semi-autonomous region. It is clear now that Craig Guilford feared that there would be what I call an irregular call-up. That is to say, the people in the tribal area were calling up their troops to fight the British state if Jews were allowed in the area. And Craig Guilford has bailed. Now, comment in whatever area you want. I know Asher will want to. But Craig Guilford, why is he still there?
I have no idea.
Actually, I'll tell you, he's got to hang on for his pension not very long.
That is why. Unfortunately, nobody gets fined. It's my big thing. Why is nobody ever fined? I thought you made the best comment
accountability.
Ever. The only time anybody ever gets fined is if you use the wrong pronoun. That is it. That's the only reason you ever get fined. But to kind of link all these things together, I used the Danish example. Do you know when the government was going to use their example of immigration control? The one thing that they didn't talk about, that the Danes do, was they don't allow people to from different countries to live together. They don't allow ghettos, basically. They knock them down.
Let me just help you with that.
Yeah.
It's what they call a non-Western zone.
Yes, that's it.
What they say is, and I think it's 40%, when 40% of people, their first language is not Danish and their religion is not Christianity, then nobody else is moving there unless they're Danish, and people are moving out.
Yes.
And they literally go, I'm sorry, there's too many Somalians here, you're moving.
And that is the one thing that I actually think we could have copied, and unfortunately it's never going to happen, because we failed to actually defend our values. Again and again and again, we water them down. And
we hate that we go, our values are bad, bring your own ones over here.
Yes,
we've also misunderstood the lesson from Golders Green and Chinatown. We've fundamentally misunderstood what the Jews and the Chinese are doing. So, Chinatown, right? Just to be clear, it's where all the restaurants are. The Chinese don't necessarily live there, right? There's lots of Chinese people because that's where the Chinese restaurants are. So discount that. Golders Green and other Jewish areas, Stamford Hill or whatever, Cheetham Hill in Manchester or whatever, it's related to proximity to a synagogue. It's not a ghetto in the traditional sense of the word. But what we think Golders Green and Chinatown proves to us is that when migrants come to a country from abroad, then what they can do is literally take over a district of Burnley, and that become, if you like, Pakistan, Burnleyistan. And that's not what the case is in Golders Green. It's just because they want proximity to the synagogue.
It's also a mixed, it's not just Jews. There's a lot of other, whereas there's certain places like up north which are just literally one community.
But am I wrong? So Pete, just to be clear, I've come up with a new word. Errorist. Right, an errorist, I say Craig Guilford is an errorist. That is to say, somebody who's pushing forward the agenda of terrorism through their own stupid errors and cowardice. And I think that...
Errorism.
An accidental terrorist.
An accidental terrorist. Because fundamentally, what has happened is a group of people have said, if Jews come to this area, we're going to kill them. And Craig Guilford has gone, let's ban Jews from the area. Right? That's not good.
Yes. There's also another little bit of that. He lied to Parliament. He lied to Parliament. That should just be a fireable offence.
And his excuse, by the way, is the excuse we hear time and time again, I did my best, I didn't realise.
Also, nobody asked. Hey, what world, when you're sitting on evidence that there is a community that is willing to organise what was called a Jew hunt, do you not feel the need to tell somebody?
And there was someone on the board that appointed him that was had suspect views.
All of this.
But they won't enforce the laws.
No.
I mean, they say, well, we leave it to the community to enforce. Well, that's ridiculous. You've got to be, fair and, free and fair, isn't it? By the way, we're going through the papers.
By the way, for those of you listening on Friday morning, apologies if Craig Guilford has
But by the way, in the morning, it's going to be Jezza, isn't it? It's Jeremy Kyle or Dolan. Why don't you tune in and find out? It might be Mark Dolan. 0344. I'm Mark Dolan. So yeah, he does Fridays. The Soar Away Sun, £9.50 a holiday. That's incredible value.
Do you know what we should do?
Traitories. Oh, Traitories. They should have made the Tories bit in blue, shouldn't they? So it would have been more clear. Banish Jenrick in defection to Farage. There's still time. They're printing it downstairs. Kemi Badenoch dramatically sacked Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick yesterday after unmasking him as a Tory traitor.
So just to be clear, I phoned Jenrick's team. I phoned. I also phoned Farage's team, and I said, "Is it true that the speech was not leaked, not screenshot, left around, having printed?" They've all confirmed.
Yeah. By the way, we've got a little clippy from the press conference earlier today. Let's have a look at that. Here's Jenrick.
Can't, in good conscience, stick with a party that's failed so badly, that isn't sorry, that hasn't changed, that I know in my heart can't deliver what's needed. That is why I resolved to leave. Because Nigel has stood consistently and very often alone for what's needed. Ending mass migration, for cheap energy, for cutting waste and taxes and red tape. Now, I don't agree with everything that he's ever said, and he definitely won't have agreed with everything that I've ever said. But, in retrospect, I see that in this period, when two main parties were failing Britain, Nigel was all too often a lone voice of common sense.
And by the way, they were both dressed up as monks today, and look how annoyed Kemi Badenoch looks as they stand next to her smiling while she looks really angry. Face like a smack bum.
So parts of the reason she was so angry, Pete, was this, and it was very interesting in her statement. And just to remind everyone, she saw unrefutable evidence. That was Jenrick's resignation speech. But she made an interesting comment, which was this. It wasn't just he was leaving. It wasn't just he'd lied. And by the way, I don't agree with Camilla Tomney. You lied about your defection. Well, come on, you're not going to admit it, are you?
No.
You're going to have the big reveal. But anyway, she said he was leaving in a way that was very damaging. What has been the general shtick of people so far is to go, I really like Kemi, she's doing a really good job, but I don't believe she can recover the brand. Whereas what Jenrick said is, I genuinely think Kemi's team are crap.
Yeah. Today's been an interesting one, because I thought Reform had just pulled a fast one on Robert Jenrick.
Really?
Yes, I actually thought they'd taken him off the board. I thought they'd kind of led him along, said, oh, well, you could defect, and then at the last minute say, well, we never signed anything, because that would have been the smarter thing to do.
But why wouldn't they have wanted him? He's a useful bit of
Because I
kit.
get to ask you one simple question. Why is the architect of the Asylum Hotels policy now a leading member
I agree
of
with
Reform?
you there, but the thing is, they've got no real serious heavyweights ministerially, and this adds to it.
But that's the question. Where's the heavyweights? Where's all the people joining?
Well,
Well, they might come now.
So they might come
the
now.
rat's fleeing a sinking ship.
I think you're being unfair. Well, okay. I think you've got to accept that if the criticisms you've made of Farage are right, and I think they are. I've always said they are, much it irritates me that they're right, but and that it is a one-man band, that it's incapable of delivering, that all it's doing is splitting the vote from a party that could deliver governance for a party that couldn't. You have to take on some credible people.
Yes.
And those credible people, I would argue, fall into kind of three categories, don't they? And bluntly, it's old, medium or young.
Yes, yeah.
That is either, if you like, Michael Howard, you know, somebody who is a big beast, Peter Lilly, somebody well known.
Anne Widdecombe was
kind of. Or it's got to be somebody like Robert Jenrick, or it's got to be someone from the new intake of MPs, right? And bluntly, it's got to be one of those three groups of people. The reality is, and I don't want to be critical, Nadeem Zahawi, ugh. You know what I mean? There's no point in having him. And also, who is that other? I mean, look.
So
Kruger apparently is useful.
And I'm not having a go at Jonathan Gullis because he's a presenter here. But the reality is he's not going to stop traffic in Beijing.
No. So this is half of the problem, is it's not... Robert Jenrick obviously has the baggage. So does Nadine Dorries. She was the one that introduced the online hardback.
she's a nutter, isn't she?
No, but this is... Let me make the point. You've got the immigration problems.
For that,
you've got the immigration problems around Robert Jenrick. You have the Online Safety Act, which was Nadine Dorries. You've got the person that took away the rights of members to vote in Tory memberships was Jake Berry, now in Reform. You've then got it's one after the other after the other. Of actually importing people who did the very things people joined.
Well,
Reform
that's what
for.
Gillian Ritchie said. The Tories are in denial about their party's failures, and they're not sorry that they have not changed.
I think the problem comes with this. I know where Farage is going. So the criticism of Farage, which is, look, you're secretly a Tory. In reality, you want to be the leader of the Tory party, and you failed to do that, and whatever. I don't think that's his problem. I think his issue is he's now got a problem, which Badenoch has got as well. One of them has to win and one of them has to lose. That is the reality. Yeah. In reality, Farage's problem and Badenoch's problem are each other and not Keir Starmer. Yeah. And so actually the reason you take on Gullis, the reason you take on Jake Berry, and by the way, there is no manpower argument for taking Jake Berry. The reason you take Nadine Zahawi is just to try and get, bluntly, the Windsor Brigade to vote for you.
It also shows you're the winning horse. It shows that you're the one that's attracting them. It's not going the other way around. Anyway, we got a little clippy, another one from Jenrick's speech. Let's have a look at this next bit.
These people run Britain as if they hate it. But whilst this government is accelerating our decline, they didn't begin it. We've had 20 to 30 years of this. And why has it happened? Because the two main parties are rotten. They are no longer fit for purpose. They both broke Britain, and neither can fix it. It's a conclusion about the Conservative Party that has pained me to reach, because I've been a member of this party since I was 16 years old. I've served it for most of my adult life.
And he's got a weekly section on this very station called Ring Rob. What day? It's like during the breakfast show. I don't know what day. We don't know what day, but just tune in every day.
Why advertise it if you don't know?
Well, because I have to tune in every day.
Oh, this is Heinz. We don't know what product we're advertising.
It's true, but he's not big enough anyway. We know it. We have there's me and him on. His dad worked for Heinz.
Yeah, but
Pete, is he
56th flavour.
Is he right, Jenrick? Yeah. Not does your dad work for Heinz?
I was going to say, yeah. I was like,
no, I was right.
I think he's right, but I think he's an extension of the problem. I think this is my big thing, is that Reform are now the uni party. They're not changing the rules. They're not changing the game. They're playing the game. They are keeping... my bigger problem is for Reform, they're keeping it as a protest group.
Just a matter of interest. So, look, I think the three of us all agree on one thing, that we are trying, that we recognise the country is in the doldrums and we want to do something about it. And I think lots of people recognise that, even if they're on the political left, political right, whatever. But at some point we have to coalesce behind the leader that's going to win. At what point should I accept that's Kemi, and at what point should you accept it's Farage?
I think that's a really good question, and I actually think I go back to the last general election when I said that when Starmageddon was on the cards, that's when they should have got together to actually unite to stop Starmer coming into power. Yeah. And that it's when this situation arises, that's when people have to come together.
That was obvious, wasn't it? They should have agreed.
But now, unite the right is one party will be eradicated in favour of the other.
It's not uniting. It's not uniting the right. It's one dominating over the other.
Exactly.
But I do think the problem of that is you've just run around for the last 18 months going, you're a traitor if you don't believe in me. You're unpatriotic. And yet you've welcomed the Berry people in. It is the hypocrisy, and hypocrisy kills you in politics.
They would have won the election if they would have done that. Yeah. It's been shown that they would have.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that...
But there is one other point that I think is important, and this is the bit that people forget. Nigel Farage has followed a strategy of publicising Conservative defectors.
Yeah.
In May, for those people that have elections, it is highly, highly, highly unlikely that your local Reform candidate will be a former Tory. It is highly unlikely. Yeah. In the general election, the number of these people that are going to run for Parliament is going to be maybe 5 or something like that at the most. And so the 650 constituencies, I guess Newark and Salisbury, is it Salisbury Ward Kruger is the MP?
Yeah.
so far, there's probably only Newark and Salisbury where a former Tory... Oh, Gullis might rerun in Stoke-on-Trent. But I would struggle to find 5 people, 5 constituencies in this country where a Conservative defector will be running for reform. So the vast majority of the...
In 3 years, it might be different.
Well, could be. But it's interesting now, the cut-off date. They've had to put a cut-off date.
Yeah,
because later on...
Explain the cut-off date for those who weren't watching.
Yeah. So basically, Farage has basically been kind of forced to put a deadline on it, and it's the May elections, that if you're going to defect, you've got to do it before the local elections, which is on the 7th of May. Like... That's the cut-off date. I have a feeling that was put on because of the reaction of the Nadeem Zahawi situation.
Yes.
That was a very much
that played badly.
That played very badly.
But once they've done that they can then plan the government, and so they're not a protest party. They obviously are looking to get into government.
Our audience think Nadeem Zahawi is a solid gold wrong-un.
I don't disagree with the
he's a criminal.
Yes, no, but I don't blame them, because that's what Reform have told them that he is. They said he's the vaccines minister. He's the one that put masks on kids. He's the one that put the taxes up to the 1940s level. He's the one that did all the things.
Why did they accept him if they knew they had Jenrick?
Because it seems very, very clear that he was friends with Richard Tice. They have a very close friendship. So my question would be, on all these defections, are they going through the same process that candidates are going through to join and run to be an MP for Reform?
By the way, I just want to ask you a question that I know you can't answer. Yeah. When they say the cut-off for defection, you have to defect before the local elections. Who are you?
I think he's talking to the MPs. I would imagine he's talking to the
MPs only.
I would say it's MPs.
What about councillors?
There's an interesting question, but I took it to mean MPs, because I don't think there are any Labour defections. I don't see
there's one coming next week.
Yeah, I'm not.
It'll be a Dan Chuck type person.
It will be. Yeah, I think Graham Stringer is the best. Is the
It's Keir Starmer. And on that bombshell, 0344 499 1000. More with the papers. We've got the UR Daily Star Express. Your calls, and I think Janice might be making a reappearance. Back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Talk. It's Andre Nash. We've got Pete Barnes. We're going through the papers. We're going to be taking all your calls in a bit, but let's go with the Daily Mail and stop fighting each other and end the Labour nightmare. And this is the Daily Mail. Saying that Britain's economy is moribund, our borders broken, our armed forces badly depleted, in a world of peril, and our PM's an ocean-going socialist dud. As Jenrick's defection rocks the right, the Daily Mail's message to reform and the Tories is what I just said before. So they're right, aren't they, really? Because this is disuniting, and we need to sort out this country because it really is going down the toilet.
But also, let's be clear, Viscount Rothermere's wife hates Nigel Farage.
Yeah, there is that.
Right. Yeah. And I know that people go, oh, these newspaper barons don't. But there are people who believe that Farage is just a far-right leader who's going to take this country down the toilet. And the Daily Mail, unfortunately, is in the category of wanting everyone to coalesce around the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I think that it is.
Which, by the way, is your position.
Yeah, it's
as well.
mine. It is, because I think it's the only one that's got the institutional deliverability. But my big problem with this kind of uniting thing is, well, one, who has to back down? And also, in what world, and given the history of the right, has that ever worked? We can't be in the same room as each other. Because when you go around taking, like, literal headshots at people, which, if you look at the back tweets of people like Tice and Farage about Robert Jenrick, they said you can't trust him. They've said all this stuff. It's going to come back. And yet again, we're stuck playing uni-party politics.
I will say one thing about Jenrick. You know, he did straight out lie about the hotels.
Yeah.
What he was trying to... I mean, what was stupid about it was he should have just admitted the truth. I inherited the policy, and the reason why I expanded the number of hotels was because there weren't enough places to put these people, and I was told to expand the hotels. I later tried to reduce the number of small boats.
That's what he should have done.
What he said was, I never said I'd expanded the hotels. Well, you did.
Yes.
Demonstrably, you did.
I know. This is part of the problem. Is you've now got to tell voters that, you know, particularly the base, the party loyal, that the person that you've just said is horrible, did all these bad things.
But wasn't the Jenrick speech brilliant at the press conference?
No, it wasn't.
Did you not think so?
No.
I loved it.
Because people don't like dirty laundry aired in public, and that was unprofessional.
No.
To the
Okay.
main vote, to the base, who like reform, brilliant.
No.
To the average voter, I'm not quite sure.
Actually, I'm going to slightly amend that. I had no interest in the Mel Stride Priti Patel bit. I'm talking about the bit before that.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, that bit. Yeah.
I mean, clearly that section was longer than originally.
No, but yes, I
wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. The reason is because for me, I'd have just I attack personally very few politicians. The only person I think I've ever personally attacked on this show is Sadiq Khan, who I think personally is a bad person.
Yeah.
Right. But Keir Starmer, we just slag him off because we disagree with him. I wouldn't have bothered naming Mel Stride and Priti. I mean, also, I'm yet to be told who Mel Stride is.
Yes,
Who is Mel Stride?
I feel if you say his name 3 times in a row, he'll just appear.
Yeah, you go, if Mel Stride walked down the street, I would not know he was Mel Stride.
Yeah. I agree with you. And his assessment of the shadow cabinet, I don't disagree with. There is a lot of problems in the Conservative Party, but this is kind of, everybody knows this.
By the way, I thought there was another really interesting thing about, is the country broken? So I'm a member of I'm a member of the Freemasons in Windsor, or at least I was, I'm not anymore. But it was really interesting meeting those guys, because they were kind of, just as in Burnley they would be the old Labour Brigade, in Windsor they're the kind of home county Tory brigade. Not as posh as you might imagine, but they all voted Remain because they were nervous about upheaval in the economy. And you get the impression that there's a big element of the Conservative Party that just tries to steady the horses.
Yeah.
There are votes in Leigh, and there are votes in Wigan, and there are votes in Sheffield for the upstart, right-wing, thrusting force. When you go to Winchester, people are not as interested. Like, oh, well, of course, we don't want to upset the apple cart too much. No, we do agree with you politically. They will be what I call duty voters, where they will want to know it's a competent Prime Minister. So they will look, I would have thought, at Jenrick and gone, well, that's the sort of chap that could be Prime Minister. And Farage, oh, well, I agree with him, but he's a bit much.
Yes.
And I think the Conservative Party, and this is the bit that reform people sometimes forget, the Conservative Party is good at steadying the horses.
Yes, because that's actually a really good point, because that kind of steadying the horse thing comes from people who have benefited from steadying the horse. If you haven't benefited from the system, you're going to want to overturn the system. Right. And I think that's why the Remain campaign lost. We're talking about economics to people that don't benefit from the economy was the dumbest thing to do.
Yeah.
The thing that I think Reform are going to struggle with when it comes to the kind of the duty voter of the Conservatives, why I don't think they're going to follow Jenrick, was because of how he's left. I think that sticking the knife in, that kind of the mess of it, because it's the competency part. We have a competency crisis, and this exactly wasn't the smoothest of exits. Now, you can say it was all rushed in because of a leak, but why was the speech lying around?
I'm going to irritate Asher, who's in charge of the format. When you look at the front page of The Sun, with
oh no, you're damaging the format. No, I hate it when you damage the format.
But when you look at the front page of the Sun, Trey Tories,
No.
is that the editor of the Sun effectively hedging their bets and saying, whilst we like these people, we are concerned about how this will play amongst our readers?
It is interesting that there's a number of headlines here that are all aiming it as sacks Robert Jenrick, defects to reform.
Yes.
Not Robert Jenrick defects. That bit has made it into the press, and I find that very interesting. And I do think you're right. It is a lot of people aren't still, what's reform going to do, because they've not really told anybody, and that kind of.
Well, they don't know
instability.
yet, do they?
But
Till
that's
they get the
problem.
other ones in.
Yeah, but when
Anyway, that's just
yeah.
not the format. We've got to
Not
go
the
to the
format.
format.
I'm going to be honest with you. On what planet did I believe that Asher Gould would care about the formats being?
Sorry, there's a format.
I might have to go home early. It's really messed me up. My whole aura's changed. Anyway, Daily Telegraph. Jenrick, Tories broke Britain, and he says he attacks former colleagues and says they don't have the stomach for change. Farage hails realignment of centre-right and claims we're exactly on the same page. So he's very happy. The other big story is your country needs you. So anyone under 65 who was a reservist, you're going to be called up to be cannon fodder for our great Prime Minister. You've got to fight for him. Get out your beds. You're under 65. You can go and pick up your rifle and put your boots on.
By the way, do you know, I will tell you this. I saw a photo of my grandfather, right, and his service in the Second World War, and somebody went,
Tell him to get ready.
My God, they went. People said, what is he? And it turns out he was a naval officer, not in the Royal Navy. He was a paramilitary, what was it called? A paramilitary Coast Guard, right? Yeah. And they said, oh, I reckon. The guys looked at it and went, I reckon he's a Northern Irish Catholic. And I went, why? And they went, because when aged 19, he was drafted for military service and passed the officer training very easily as a man who only had the equivalent of GCSEs. The British will have known why he passed, right? And the reason they will have known why he passed was because of the training he'd already had in the IRA,
yes.
right? And so literally, I wonder how many young people are going to be called up to military service who've done quite a lot more in Ukraine than what they've admitted to, and they're just going to end up. They're going to go. Right, we're going to train you into a drone operator, anti-tank unit.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the drones. It's interesting you bring up the drones because I remember a kind of plan that the military had was to get gamers who were playing first-person shooter games to train them up to be drone pilots.
Because what they were
it's
doing,
the same system.
Yeah, but not only that, because they were using pilots and thought, why be wasting these trained flyers to do it? And now, like in America, people go, they live in Nevada, they just go do 9-to-5 jobs killing people in Afghanistan.
Do you know what they've done? Do you know what they've done in Ukraine? Right, I'm not joking. I've got a friend, God, everyone's going to guess who's been helping with this. But as long as I don't say it, there's no legal problems. But anyhow...
No, it's not Biggins.
Christopher Biggins. No, it's not. But basically... If you send out these armoured vehicles, you send out an armoured vehicle, these old ex-Security Corps vehicles, they spray them green, right, and then they get old iPhones, right, and Mavic drones, and they basically put a bank of 50, well, probably not 50, 25 iPhones strapped in the back of this, 25 Mavic drones with a grenade attached to each. And they park up and they fly these bloody things and drop them straight inside Russian tanks. Yeah. And the 500 metres above, whatever, 500 metres I think it is, above the ground, just goes straight down. And literally, Ukraine has operated all sorts of units, anti-tank units, with literally... stuff that's bought from CEX.
Yeah. £500 drone destroying a £10 million tank, and you should see what the Russians have done to the tanks. They've put these spikes on like hedgehogs.
If I remember rightly, the Israelis did something when they killed the head of Hamas. That was something very similar, using a drone and just a basic grenade. It wasn't a really complex thing to do, but that's kind of terrifying if you think about it.
The reality is DJI, the drone maker, 70% of their civilian drones have gone to Ukraine.
Well, it reminds me of the First World War, where we still fought in the old way with modern technology in the American Civil War, because they had machine guns, yet they would still... And this is what these war in Ukraine and Russia, they're learning about it, but they're fighting old-style wars with drones.
I will tell you, having spent some time in Ukraine, there are young people wandering around the streets of this country who have a way more significant knowledge of warfare than what they're admitting. They're all coming back going, I was a humanitarian aid worker. What aid did you export? Mavic drones.
Yeah, Mavic drones.
Anyway, this Birmingham West Midlands police story gets worse.
Actually, let me ask you, what is your opinion on that?
Well, it's out. Well, we know exactly what's going on. He's kowtowing to the community, and this is.
But hang on, you are an Aston Villa supporting Jew. Right? Yeah. So the reality is, look, at the end of the day, the Chief Constable of the West Midlands has said, in the face of pressure from an Islamist gang, I'm going to ban Jews from Aston Villa.
Well, he was appointed by them. He was appointed, wasn't a part of the... I mean, here we go. Maccabi PCC linked to anti-Israel activist. A police boss at the centre of the Maccabi...
Do you want that? Do you want that?
Oh, that's better, yeah. A police boss, because I've got my reading glasses, I've lost them. A police boss at the centre of the Maccabi fan row has links to anti-Israel activist Simon Foster. The Labour Police and Crime Commissioner for the West Midlands held a Zoom call hosted by Muslim Engagement and Development, a group that has been criticised for working alongside extremists. Mr Foster is the only person who can sack Craig Guildford. Surprise, surprise.
Just to be clear, the Police and Crime Commissioner is not sacking Craig Guildford because it will play badly in the Muslim community. Yes. That is an outrage.
And there's also the added fact that I actually think that they're going to... that the Police and Crime Commissioner is going to use it as their launching pad to be the next mayor.
Look how great we are. Well, look what we did for you. Vote for us again, yeah.
What can Aston Villa do, Ash? I'll tell you what, why don't we go to the break?
We'll talk about that in the break and we'll come back with our answers. 0344 499 1000 at Andre JP Walker, at Virtual Ash, at
PC Barnes 123.
Back in a jiffy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the Late Show with Andre Walker. Sorry, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. Asher, look, obviously the front page of The Telegraph has got the issue of the Police and Crime Commissioner, Simon Foster. I think there's a reluctance on the front page to talk about Craig Guildford, just in case he resigns at 8 o'clock in the morning before everybody reads these papers. But what blame Aston Villa, Asher?
I don't think you could... I think they could have kicked off a bit more about it. That's the only thing. And, you know... Starmer said it's got to go ahead. I think then Maccabi Tel Aviv pulled out and said, well, we're not going to send our fans there anyway and put them in danger. But it's outrageous. Obviously, he's got to go, this chief of police, for lying. I mean, AI hallucinating of a match that didn't even happen. It was an absolute outrage.
But, Pete... You made a good point, and I just want to line you up to make it to the public. Shabana Mahmood is a Home Secretary. She can't have heard of all this intel for the first time when he appeared at the Select Committee.
Yeah, so there seems to be... it came out at this extraordinary Select Committee. I mean, that was just something else. But it seems to me that she may have known about a lot of this information and a lot of the intelligence a few weeks before all of this happened. I've started to see a pattern with Shabana Mahmood that she finds out about things and doesn't do anything.
Are we going to find out about that?
I think the Sentencing Council is a prime example, that she's seen to be, she's action. She's not done anything. And more importantly, it all trends in one direction. This one is obviously the anti-Semitism claim, but also it seems to be playing the identity politics card.
Before we play the comment by Craig Guildford, I know this is a really hard question to answer, but can you give us a sense of the process? Because Maccabi Tel Aviv fans are coming to the UK. So this isn't like Liverpool playing Man United. So clearly, as the Home Secretary, there are going to be, if you like, immigration issues. Specifically, are these people safe to come to the country? Can you give us a sense of what intel the Home Secretary might have access to, and what the police chief would have, and how they might be working together?
Yeah, it's the problem is a lot of this information isn't in the public domain.
Yes,
not just the intelligence, but how they gather the intelligence, who's in the room, and all this stuff. It's not freedom of information. You put the request in, you can't do that. That's part of a problem. So basically, you have the three tiers of intelligence, and mainly they come from the counter-terrorism, because that's the international branch of it, to make sure that these people are safe to come, and the people are safe here if they do come. The problem, the breakdown here, is that there doesn't seem to be any authority that the Home Secretary and the Home Office have over the police anymore. Because of the Police and Crime Commissioner position...
Well, she lost that law, didn't she?
She's lost that.
Yeah.
I find that staggering, that the elected people's representatives can't modulate the police who
and
have
yet
done it by
they're given
consent.
a law in 2000 that allows them to cancel elections, which is obviously a conflict of interest.
But instinctively, though, Pete, imagine now I'm the Home Secretary and you're my junior ministers. Right. Maccabi Tel Aviv are coming to a Muslim part of Britain. Right. And so presumably they're all ex-IDF, because everybody is in Israel, right? So, OK, and there is an Islamist MP, there is a pro-Gaza MP in the local area who's kicking off. Presumably the Home Secretary says something. And I would suggest that something is, hey, are we on top of this, guys? Who's spoken to the Chief Constable? And you will say to me, I've spoken to the Chief Constable, and he said, hey, it can't be, presumably, don't worry about that, it's a local police issue.
You know what makes it
Nobody
even
would say
worse?
that.
What makes it even worse is her constituency is next to Aston Villa.
Yes.
That's the point. And, how is she not
she's
aware
worried
of all
about her
this?
own voters.
That's a big point. She is just as terrified of losing her seat in all of this as every other Labour MP is. More so than ever, because her majority was huge. Then it's now very small.
We call ourselves the home of common sense. Let's be brutal. In the West Midlands, is Jew hating a vote winner?
It seems to be now.
They believe it is,
They
don't
believe
they?
that it is. I'm not sure it is. We've no data to prove that. But they think that if we're nice to these people, they're going to vote for us. I don't think that is true.
I'll tell you what I would do. I would say smashing the demagogues within the Muslim community is not a vote winner, but it will be in the end.
It will
because
be.
the reality is there is simply no evidence to say the majority of people in the Muslim community like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? And we've seen from Iran. We've seen from Iran the way that, in reality, when people are given a voice in the Muslim community, they are much more moderate than what they are presented as.
Yeah, I looked to the UAE recently, have pulled funding they give to kids to come to the universities over here because they fear of Islamic radicalisation. From the Middle East, they're not going to send their kids to Britain.
Exactly.
That is a story of huge proportion.
They've been doing it a while, but it's official now, and they're also not going to accept degrees from Britain to get jobs. Right, we've got to go a little breaky, but just before that, there's been an intelligence assessment by Britain that says Ukrainians killed 27 times as many Russians as soldiers they lost when they fought to regain the city of Kupiansk, according to an intelligence
I've got to say one thing. I fell out with a lot of Ukrainians over this. We've got to remember, and I'm going to use the word idiot, but I don't mean it in the way perhaps...
Brace yourself.
Brace yourself. Some of the biggest victims of this are 18-year-old idiots from Siberia who have been... and they're idiots because they've been told they're preventing a Holocaust in Ukraine.
And they're also being forced and,
Horrendous.
that's what's happening in Ukraine as well.
And always remember, when you were talking about what we were talking about with drones, you are trying to develop techniques to make it easier to kill Russian teenagers.
When they brought the North Koreans over...
by the way, 4 children of Vladimir Putin, none serving.
Yeah. By the way, the North Koreans that they brought in, because they were useless troops, because they've never had any war, North Koreans. So what they did, they used them to draw out the drones and just get blown up.
Bait.
Literally cannon fodder. 034449911000. We're going to go through the rest of the papers, and it's all about your calls after this. Heather, Philip, Lawrence, and loads of you. It's Talk. We'll be back in a jiffy.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, by the way, can we say hello to Janice? She's still hanging on because she hasn't got a radio. All right, Janice?
Yeah.
Has anything changed in your situation since...
Janice, why don't I just do something? Janice, I'm going to put you back to the producers. Give them your address. I'm going to buy you a bloody radio.
She hasn't got any electricity. Get her one of those wind-up...
electricity?
Get her one of those wind-up ones that Trevor Bayliss...
Have you got electricity?
Oh, don't cut me off yet.
Have you got
No, we're not cutting you off.
Have you got electricity?
Oh, yeah, no, a bit. I don't have any
You need
light
quite a lot.
downstairs.
We'll get you one of those Trevor Bailey...
No, we're not getting an expensive one.
One of those ones that they give to people, a wind-up radio, yeah.
This piece of crap.
We are wind-up radio, aren't you? Anyway, anything you want to say, Janice, while you're on air?
I'd really like to say one thing. Is there any hope?
No.
No.
The big word, hope.
No, I don't think there is, Janice. Thanks for that. Anyway, right, let's go for the Daily Star, Greedy Nigel's video. No, this is a ridiculous story. Someone's written in and said, can you say happy birthday to this paedophile? Yeah, get a number. And Ian Watkins, he wished a happy birthday.
Well, no, there's no... Sorry, so we're being asked in our ear, should we get her address? If she's got no power supply, there's nothing I can do.
Trevor Bailey for radio. By the way, I remember when in Australia they did a happy anniversary to Fred and Rose West. People do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when? What was her name? Oh, the big fat one. What was that?
Subo.
No,
Bella Ember.
No, she was
Big Daddy.
Oh, the big fat woman who used to work
Giant
here.
Haystacks.
Then she had her stomach stapled.
Oh, right, yeah.
Vanessa Feltz. Vanessa Feltz. Yeah, when Vanessa Feltz on her radio show, Vanessa Feltz gave a shout out to Purple Aki.
Yes, I remember
Purple
that.
Aki, who's opening up a new gym in Liverpool.
I remember that. I do remember
From your
that.
wife, Sandra.
Yes. Can I just say that there is a problem that you can pull out of this story with the cameo and stuff? Due diligence. What is he doing?
Well, it could have been anyone called Andrew
Watkins. He wants to be the Prime
Watkins.
Minister,
Yeah,
and he's
but-
charging people to say hello.
Okay, let's just explain what this is. So he is on something called Cameo. Cameo is a website where you can get your favourite celebrities and some dubious non-celebrities, and you can pay them to make a video about you. He makes a fortune off this. It's in the hundreds of thousands.
150 grand, that's why he does it. Why don't we do it? We'd only charge a fiver.
Because we'll get 4 people.
Yeah.
We'll make 20
20
quid. a year.
quid.
But he charges.
70 quid
he
each
does
he
charge
charges.
70 quid.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, this is really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. I had a friend of mine who hosted a dinner with Nigel Farage and me. Right, and basically, sorry, not with Nigel Farage and me, you know what I mean? I was present and Nigel Farage was the speaker, and his family said, look, it's his 70th, or whatever it was, can you get a video from Nigel Farage wishing him a happy birthday? I went, I can't, he's on Cameo. Right, so he got this video off Cameo with Nigel Farage going, happy birthday, I won't say the name, and he thought Farage had done him a personal favour, and he said, can you give me Farage's number so I can personally call him?
Yeah, that's
to
another
thank
80
him?
quid, that is.
And I thought, oh my God, I can't do that. But the reality is, this Cameo makes him a lot of money.
Yeah.
For our Northern Irish friends, he did say up the RA once, which means support the IRA.
Yeah, but my big thing is the guy wants to be the Prime Minister. I don't think this is a good look.
What do you reckon we can get him to say? Should we get a cameo for
Well,
next week?
apparently anything seems
Let's
to be
get him to
the
do a
thing.
cameo for us.
Yeah, but I just think...
Farage won't appear on this show.
Could you
why
imagine?
don't we do you remember what JJ McKay used to do? That, hey, whenever I'm in Leeds, I listen to Radio
Oh, right, yeah.
Can we get him to say, whenever I'm interested in the news, I tune into Andre and Ash on talkTV? I'm going to pay him 70 quid to do it, and we'll play it. But let's do that.
He won't do it, will he?
No.
70 quid?
Well,
He'll want more than that.
because of the media connection, I don't think he'd do it, but...
No, I'm going to try.
But
I'm
again,
going to go through
there is
Cameo.
a problem of due diligence in Reform UK. The details.
No, hang on a
Sorry,
second.
I've got to go back to the story.
No, I don't
Yeah,
care
yeah.
about the story. I don't care about the story anymore. Why don't we say, why don't we do like 4 videos, and we'll get in one video I listen to.
Are you going to Donald Trump? Are you going to panorama Donald Trump?
Yeah. I'm absolutely.
It cost us 300 quid as well. Yeah?
What
We're
about
not the
10 million
BBC.
pounds?
We'll get BBC verified to edit
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna say.
But what we could do is Dave Gorman did this, where he managed to get his poem from when he was 7 said by celebrities on Cameo. What we could do is, right, because we've got good editors here, as long as he says the words Andre and Asher and Gould and Walker, right, and then says the words listen to or whatever, if we get like 5 videos together, we could put it together as a package.
You've now just given the perfect reason as to why we should ban AI.
Yeah, we could just get AI to do it.
You've literally just given Keir Starmer the perfect attack line.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, this was a bad idea about Cameo, and literally, I just want to be clear. News UK are a very lovely company, and they have a legal department, and there is fecking zero chance that they were ever going to allow that through.
Anyway, the Times, more in the Times, generic effects to reform, we know that. Cost of big family drives abortions to record highs. Abortions have hit record highs. Rising costs push women into having smaller families. And these are obviously working families, because if you don't work, you can be on a fortune now. It's ridiculous.
Yep. So let's just be clear, and I'm sorry to say this. The average birth rate per woman in the UK is 1.4. Now remember, mum and dad is 2, 1.4 is less than 2, therefore the population is declining. The average amongst the migrants is 3.4. Mum and dad is 2, 3.4 is more. Here is the amazing thing. The amazing thing. It's something that I've said, Pete, on multiple occasions. I've said in front of you, Asher, which is this. It is because of uncontrolled immigration and the cost of living that we are having fewer children. So the lefties are turning around going, well, Brits are having fewer children, so we need more migrants. No, it's because of, as an example, 40%.
Exactly.
I have to buy 2 houses. One for... Now, can I ask you a question, Pete? You've got a good job. I'm not putting you on the spot. You have a good job. Do you own a house or do you live with a flatmate, right? Because you have to rent because you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Right? Fact.
Yeah.
Now, do you look like somebody who's scrounging around sweeping streets for a living? No, you don't. The reality is that ordinary middle-class people are poor in this country as a result of government policy.
And that's why they're leaving people like Reem, the brightest and the best, having to leave this country to actually make a living. Dr. Alison Wright, president of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, said economic pressure was shaping women's reproductive choices, with many choosing to delay or have smaller families. 277,971 abortions in England and Wales in 2023.
Well,
and,
look,
we wonder why our population is dwindling.
But the reality
Andre's
is...
right about
the
that.
reality is, and I'll throw this back at you again, Pete, look, it doesn't bother me what format settling down for you takes, but you are far from the mortgage and the family and the marriage and all that, far from it.
I also think that the idea of, a single person, just a person on their own trying to get onto the property line, impossible. But you've just brought up an interesting bit in that. People having smaller families. We focus so much on first-time buyers and all this kind of stuff. Some people want to expand their families. They can't do that. I think that is a real bit of this debate that gets missed out. We focus so much on people wanting to start a family. Well, what about the people that want to grow a family?
And 40 years ago, a single man, a working-class bus driver, could afford to pay for all his family, no problem. And you wonder why. Kids these days are thinking, well, there's no future. Why am I going to try and get jobs? Even if I get the best job in the world, I can't live a normal life that someone could live easily.
Let's just be clear. There are people... Now, look, at the end of the day, there are places like Wigan and Lee where you can get houses fairly inexpensively, and I accept that, even though the prices have gone up. But... what you were talking about with the Andre Walkers and Pete Barneses and the people that you see, the Samara Gills of this world, you're talking about people who live in areas where a family home might be £750,000. So even if you earned £250,000 a year, you would still be struggling.
And that'd be a very small family house.
There is
in
also
London.
the other angle on this, is young people are getting a little sick and tired of being blamed for everything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we have to... I think you suddenly wonder why they all want to leave. Because you've not been very nice to them.
Well, really, it's the boomers, isn't it, that have taken everything
actually,
and pulled up the
I
drawbridge.
think it's that generation before that, actually, the post-war generation, actually. I think they've been the most entitled ever because they ballooned the welfare state. And, then you suddenly wonder why we can't afford anything. It's because we're paying off the debt from the last lot. Unfortunately, my generation are paying off a lot of debt, and I don't think we're ever going to pay it off.
So, look, we are getting to the end of the press preview. Let's go to the iPaper. Day of Poison is what they describe it as. How damaging, Pete, has this been for politics in general?
I think because it was so predictable, I don't really think it's damaged politics that much. The interesting thing is, CCHQ, not that bothered. Because Robert Jenrick has been the pain in their side for a long time now.
But they are socialists.
But again, you take that as you like.
No, I'm
say yes, yeah. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people have put a lot of effort into Robert Jenrick because he was a big fish in a small pond. He's now got to kind of earn his place a little bit more, and I don't really see what he's going to do.
What he's going to do is have a war with Tice that will go on for the next 15 years.
This is the thing, that him and Tice is it's a whole thing, and I don't really get how any of it's going to work.
But this will bring public engagement like Brexit, won't it?
Or it will say, oh, look, everybody's fighting again while the cost of living's happening.
By the way, we've got Mark, go on quickly.
The Guardian is saying that the Middle East allies are urging Trump not to hit Iran. That's the Guardian lying again.
Yeah, it's lying.
Anyway, stop it, boys. It's Mark Dolan here, and I'm going to come with my breakfast show in a minute, so make sure you're listening. 034 499 1000. Speak to me, Mark Dolan. Thanks to Ash and Andre for a magnificent show. Wasn't it magnificent, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks, Mark. Right, yeah.
And if you are still listening, it is Thursday night. Pete, I always ask you for your predictions for the future.
I think this is a make or break moment for Reform UK. It really is. How they launch from this will define whether they win the next general election or even exist. Because you've now...
And do you agree that one of them's going to win and one of them's going to lose now? Conservatives or Reform?
Yes, that is definitely going to be the case. But also, within the Reform, you've now got the fight for the soul of Reform.
Yeah.
Because they've
got people coming now.
Yeah, again, but who's coming? Because you've just let the fox in the hen house. You've let a political animal loose that the Tories try to control. They could do it.
And one of them's their soul and the other one's our soul.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks. Are you staying around? I don't know.
No,
he's going. But Janice, are you still there, Janice?
Oh,
Are you enjoying the show, are you?
Ridiculous.
You enjoying it?
You're going as fast as my brain does. Well, he might be shot.
A bit quicker than that. Anyway, look, stay there, Janice. We got the news now, so hold on. We'll come back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and I want to rebuke the BBC once again about their gross dishonesty on Greenland. Just to be clear, The polar ice cap is melting, and that means there is an ability to attack the United States of America from the north rather than from the centre or the south, and therefore there needs to be some naval bases put in place on Greenland. Okay? Now, the United States of America has officially said it will make Greenland the 51st state. If you think they're going to allow 56,000 people to elect 2 United States senators and 1 congressman, you are very sadly mistaken, particularly as it's a largely social democratic area. The reason for the military build-up in Greenland by Britain, by Denmark and by Germany is not because these countries believe there's going to be a war with America. It's to demonstrate that NATO can build up forces on Greenland without the United States of America needing to take sovereignty of the place. Right? The BBC are trying to persuade you there's going to be a war in Greenland. It's absolute garbage, and it's not the first time the BBC have lied about Donald Trump. I will tell you what deal is going to be done. Just as Decalia and Aquitaria in Cyprus are parts of Britain, i.e. they are they are overseas territories. So, just to be clear, in just the same way as Gibraltar is a British overseas territory, 2 bits of Cyprus, Decalia, which is the bit when you go, you know when you leave Larnaca Airport and go to Ayia Napa, you drive through Decalia, Aquitaria is elsewhere. Those are parts of Britain. What will happen is a lump of Greenland will become a US sovereign territory and they will build an enormous base on it. That is what's going to happen. But I just want to say, and you know, Asher and I have complained about this a lot. We try and be responsible in this show. We have a bit of a laugh, we have a bit of fun, but the dishonest claim that the United States of America is about to go to war with Greenland, you know, it's really disgraceful.
It's a political activist. I mean, look at the disgrace they're in about this Iranian revolution that's going on, how they try to avoid it, and then when they couldn't, they try and pretend it's going on. But they're still, you know, we know whose side they're on. Anyway, let's have a little chat to our mate, Ken. Ken in London. Hallelujah, good morning. What messages have you got for us today?
I've got a very serious message, Asher.
As usual, yeah.
Since the slaughter of the 1,200 Jews in Israel on the 7th of October, evil Islamist terror organization Hamas, I believe we are now experiencing the greatest betrayal of the British people in history over the past 26 months.
Why?
Do you know what's happened?
Go on, what's happened?
Our government, especially the Labour government, they've allowed an evil religious organization called Islamic fundamentalism to reign in the streets of London and in other cities in our nation. We need to waken up.
Yeah. Well, people are waking up.
By the way, for those of you that might be shocked or offended by what Ken has just said, I want to be clear with you. The government of the United Arab Emirates agrees with him and has publicly stated their agreement with him. That is to say, they say that Britain has allowed in Islamic fundamentalists through the Muslim Brotherhood. They have banned 7 organisations that are completely legal in Britain, are terrorist organisations in the United Arab Emirates. Now, Ken comes at this from a view of being a Christian. Nothing wrong with that. Even Muslim countries are saying that Islam, radical Islam, is out of control in Britain.
And the centre of it is now not in the Arab world, it's actually in Europe, and specifically the main head is in the UK, and we know that.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, gentlemen, but the foolish, cowardly decision to let loose evil Islamic hatred in London streets. I've followed this now for about 2 years. I've been to almost every evil Hamas support protest. Evil was manifest in every meeting. Now, what's happened is our government and the leaders of the law enforcement, the police, the leaders, not the regular policemen, but the leadership, they have decided to let loose evil Islamic hatred on London streets. Now, these people have now been emboldened.
And by the way, Ken, I do agree with that. I was just pointing out that obviously, as a Christian, it's inherent that you believe that all other religions are wrong, right? But you're right in the point you make. Let me just ask you this. When you meet these Hamas supporters on the streets. So just to explain to those who don't know, and regular listeners and viewers know this, Ken is a chap with a sandwich board who goes out and about preaching the word of Jesus Christ. And you will see him at various protests, you will see him at various riots, you will see him at whatever, and he goes around with his headphones and just gets on with it. With his little microphone and gets on with it. What is your impression of these Hamas supporters when you've gone? What's their reaction to you? What's their reaction to the Christian message?
Well, their reaction towards the message of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is always hostile. It's hatred. I've been attacked a number of times by Muslims. They're not all bad. We're talking here about these Islamists and these who are sold out to Islamic fundamentalism. Now, but what's happening here, because of the government's allowed these people to take control of our streets, right in front of Downing Street, I have to believe they've emboldened the Muslims. They now look upon us as a fearful nation, and they have increased their efforts to destroy Great Britain by violence if necessary. And all over Europe, they've been taken over by Islamic.
And they're supported by the lefty useful idiots who now are in a quandary because they should be out supporting the Iranian people there, but they're on the side of the IRGC and, you know, the subjugation of the people. You know, what about all these gays for Gaza and lesbians? What about them for the people of Iran? They don't care. They actually don't care anything about human rights. They care about destroying the West and Israel.
Yeah, sorry, just to dovetail onto that, Ken, whilst Christians in Britain are praying for the people of Iran, praying and hoping when we see those young lads, 24, about to be executed, we're praying for them. The BBC and the Islamists in the UK and the pro-Gaza brigade are deliberately saying nothing in support of the ordinary people, because the fact is their hatred for Britain is more important than their love for the ordinary people of Iran.
Correct, but listen, Stalmer, I think he's mainly to blame. He's a full-blown atheist. He's no time for God. He's got no moral standards. This man, in my humble opinion, and I don't point fingers at anybody for sin, but he is the Prime Minister. He is the leader of our country, potentially. But he has surrendered the government and the country to the whims of Islamic fundamentalists. He surrendered through cowardice. They're afraid to say anything to upset them in case they retaliate. It is pure, utter political and moral cowardice. Now, as a Christian, we all need to repent, but I'm sad for the church. The church, in the last war, King George and Winston Churchill, under the threat of Nazi power coming and the threat of Dunkirk, 300,000 soldiers were trapped in Dunkirk. What did they do? They called the nation to prayer and asked God for help. Now, this man here, he won't call the nation to prayer. He doesn't believe in God. But the leadership of the Christian churches, we need to unite together to pray and seek God's protection, God's deliverance from Islam. Our battle is not against flesh and blood, it's against demonic powers. And Islam is driven by horrible, evil, demonic powers.
Well, it's certainly, I mean, whatever you think about the religion of Islam, certainly the people that we have allowed to be the leaders of it in this country are a disgrace. What did the United Arab Emirates say? Britain is so politically correct that they are allowing terrorists to run amok. The parents in the United Arab Emirates are afraid to send their children to the University of Bradford in case they are taught to be Islamic terrorists.
Radicalised, yeah.
From Abu Dhabi.
Do you know another amazing situation? The universities of our land have been taken over by Islamist extremists. And the leaders of the universities have allowed it.
And the communists.
I'll tell you one thing.
Well, look at New York. Look what's happened in New York.
I'll tell you one thing that makes me sick. Ken, Asher, and indeed the viewers and listeners.
What, we all make you sick?
No. There are people in Tehran, at Tehran University, running into machine gun fire in order to have free speech, freedom of religion, and democracy. We've got universities where they are literally trying to shut down free speech, ban everyone from campus, ban Christianity, and
are supporting the guys who are shooting these protesters. That's what they're doing. Even if they won't say it, they're embarrassed about it.
What country in the world are students in favour of more government control?
Yeah, subjugating.
Well, even when you look at America, I used to live in Windsor, Ontario. That's across the river from Detroit, and Dearborn is just not far from Detroit. 80,000 100,000 population. I've been watching this in the internet. They have been taken over by Islam. The Muslim mayor has actually told white people,
like Minnesota,
if they don't like it, to leave the city. Texas has been taken over.
Well, look at Minnesota. Look at the massive $9 billion fraud in Minnesota and counting.
No, the one thing, I'm a Christian, but God gave us the right to stand up against evil. It's in the Bible. This country has to stop the flood of illegal immigrants immediately. It has to be stopped, otherwise we're allowing foot soldiers.
But Ken, before you go, you would not do what you do, which is go out with your sandwich board and preach the word of God, unless you believed that people were going to be saved. Are you optimistic or pessimistic for the future of this country?
Very pessimistic, because it's in the Bible. This country has fallen under the power of the devil. But in the meantime, actually in Iran is experiencing the greatest conversion of Christians from Muslims in Iran right now, which is a Shia Muslim country. When we go out to preach the gospel, anybody can be saved. Any Muslim, any Jew, any sinner, if they will just call upon Jesus, ask for forgiveness and believe in Jesus, this is the good news. So we go out, and I believe in my heart, many people hear the gospel and in their own privacy will begin to pray and seek the Lord. So I would encourage everyone listening here, get serious about this. We are headed for big, big trouble. And it's
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much,
Ken
Ken.
in London. Janice, what did you think about Ken's call?
Well, I wanted to say, a couple of years ago...
Well, no, hold on. We want to know what you think, first of all, about Ken's call.
Right, now I think Ken's doing a bloody good job.
1 out of 10?
Because
How much out of 10?
There's two things in the Bible.
Yeah.
God said, don't judge, lest you be judged. But he also said,
turn your other
Israel
cheeks. Turn your
is
cheeks.
for the Israelis. And I'm sorry, that's the way it's going.
Thanks, Janice. They're very wise words there. Let's go to Georgina. Should we go to a little breaky before? No, we'll go into the break, but we'll go to Georgina first.
No, thank you.
Oh, right, Janice. Here's Georgina.
Hello.
Hi, Georgina.
Hi. I was just listening to what you were saying to Ken.
Yeah.
He's such a brave man, honestly, to stand out there with all those protests.
I've got to be honest with you.
He's a brave man.
A lot of people listening to this show and watching it have really warmed to him. The reason is because, look, he is a somebody who's very religiously fundamentalist, but also he's not a violent lunatic.
No.
He goes out and he makes his point to people
Passionately.
And also, I think there's always, if you're going to have a go at somebody for being whatever, it comes in the context of saying, I am personally trying to help you by understanding my religion better.
He's a very good man, is Ken.
Well, I think he is. And I wanted to pick up on a point that you were both saying about Islamic radicalism. We were warned by a Muslim foreign minister from the UAE back in 2017
yeah, we were.
about
I've seen that,
the dangers of Islamic radicalism. And, I mean, who better to give advice than somebody who's actually...
But the Craig Guilford school of community understanding is all Muslims are terrorists, and therefore we've got to pander to them, because if we are anti-terrorist, we'll get our heads kicked in. I think that is grossly racist and discriminatory against the vast majority of Muslims in this country.
Well, I think that Craig Guilford is an anti-Semite, if you want to know the truth.
Well, I'll tell you what he is. I don't care what his personal political views are. His policies are anti-Semitic. Fact.
Yes.
Well, the people that got him into power, this is what we're seeing across the country. They rely on these people. And I think, there was some survey done. I think it was the Henry Jackson Society that said, who was it who said it's the dirty little secret, the anti-Semitism?
Mm-hmm. Look, his policy is to ban Jews from Villa Park and blame the Jews. Right now, I'm afraid that is anti-Semitism. Now, whatever his reason for it is, and I believe his reason is cowardice, it doesn't matter. I mean, look, let's be clear. What did they say at Nuremberg? I was only following orders. Yeah. Very few people went to the Nuremberg trials after the Second World War and said, I'm really glad we kicked in the Jews. Yeah. Most of them said, look, that's what I was told to do.
It was my responsibility. And they also, interestingly, cancelled elections, didn't they? Mm-hmm.
Well, the cancelling of elections, who knows better than a lot of people in Britain now what cancelling of elections feels like? And that, to me, is communism.
It's a coup. It's a coup. Our government is a tyranny.
Absolutely.
Well, technically it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's undemocratic to cancel elections, and Keir Starmer has no right to cancel the
elections. But he does because of this law in 2000, and he follows the laws. But obviously that's a conflict of interest. It's a ridiculous law, and
Sorry, just to be clear, did we know that this had happened? That Corina Machado, the Venezuelan opposition leader, gave her Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump?
Yeah, she tried to offer it to him, and the Nobel Prize people said, no, you can't do that. But she actually said,
She gave it to him,
but they said, no, it doesn't officially go to him. So,
but she's given him the medal.
Right, OK. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, that's very sweet. Now, the reason I called you, darlings, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask your opinion on what you think about Robert Jenrick's defection to Reform.
Well, I think he's done it. He's made a sensible choice because he knows the Tories are on the way out, and I think what he's looking at is to become leader in maybe 10 or 15 years. And that's basically what he's setting himself up for. I think the Tories are finished.
Let me tell you, the reason why P&O and the reason why DFDS is now the biggest freight carrier between the UK and continental Europe is because the Herald of Free Enterprise sank off what was it, Zeebrugge, and Townsend Torreson went bankrupt. My point is this: there will always be cross-channel ferries, but the companies may well change. My view is there is a need for a patriotic Conservative government in this country. Now, whether that patriotic Conservative government is a Clem Attlee patriotic Conservative government, I mean constitutionally Conservative, not politically Conservative, whether that's Clem Attlee, whether that's Margaret Thatcher, whether that's Winston Churchill, it doesn't bother me. We need a responsible patriotic government that protects the principles of this country. Now, if you want, like Clem Attlee to do, create an NHS, if you want to do what Winston Churchill did, which is fight a war, that's fine. We need that. And my view is that the Conservative Party is Townsend Torreson and Reform is DFDS. Just to be clear, they're still ferrying people and vehicles from Europe to Britain, but it's just a different flavour. And honestly, I think that Labour and the Conservatives have both let us down. I think arguably Labour are worse than the Conservatives because at least the Conservatives like their voters. Labour hate their voters. But we need new people to represent these people. You go round the country. I mean, Jews for Labour. I mean, Jesus, I mean, this party, I mean, I would on Wikipedia say one of their abiding principles is anti-Semitism. I mean, they've got a bloke, Labour, who is trying not to sack the police constable, chief constable of the West Midlands, who lied about Jews in order to ban them from Villa Park.
And hasn't got the support of even the Home Secretary.
Well, I mean, the way things are going, they just want our Jewish community to be locked in the houses and never to be seen.
Well, a lot of them have self-locking themselves in the house, too scared to go out.
They're terrified. They say that the police, do their job without fear or favour. Well, it's our Jewish community who are living in fear, and it's the Muslim community.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have liked to have done. Now, the reality is, Asher Gould was in a slightly odd position. A, he's not a season ticket holder at Villa Park, and secondly, he wasn't banned because he's a Villa supporter. But I'll tell you what, I would merrily buy a cricket bat from the local shop and walk down the street with my Jewish friends because it's their bloody street. They paid the taxes to build it. Why on earth is it that somebody who came to the country 10 years ago has the right to say that somebody whose family, and by the way about the Goulds, they did build Birmingham because they've been there for about 300-400 years, right? Well, how dare they say to Johnny and Asher Gould and people like them, you have no right to come down this street? I think if the people that believe that Jewish people should not go to Villa Park should be booted out the country. That's my solution.
Especially if they make it all up as well.
That's my solution.
Well, I would be very proud to walk down the street with Asher and Johnny with my cricket bat if they ever need my assistance. Old as I am, you know, we're cut from the same cloth, my darling, let me tell you.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to that time when we walk down the street, me, my brother and Georgina with a cricket bat. Janice, what did you think of Georgina's call? It's quite passionate. What would you give it out of 10 and give us your thoughts on it?
Well, I really think that what she said was quite passionate.
Thanks, Janice. And on that bombshell, we'll be back in 2 minutes. It's Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and in answer to Anthony, whilst you may have 100 cows, I've got 104 friends. OK, and let's go to Daniel in Shropshire. Daniel, you are on Talk.
Dan. All right, man.
What I'm concerned about with the Tory defections to reform isn't so much who they take, it's the ideological basis of who they take.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, the reason why the Tories failed is because they gave up on their namesake. The Conservatives ditched conservatism and replaced it with progressivism, the same ideology as Labour and the Lib Dem.
Blairism, really.
It's progressivism, which is always the term that we hear from these people. And as I've said to you in the past, progressivism is not a centrist ideology.
But Daniel, can I throw the other side of this? So first of all, you know we agree with you, right? But the argument goes that there is a lot of jobs in a government, and basically Reform has got generals and foot soldiers and nothing in between. And actually, people have told Farage, we don't trust you to be Prime Minister because you're a one-man band. He's trying to plug that gap.
The problem is, it's not the fact that he's plugging the gap, it's the ideology of the people he's plugging it with. Because in the past, pessimism is a grievance ideology rooted in Marxism and critical theory. Is the oppressed versus oppressor ideology as policy, which is why we have two-tier policing, two-tier justice, etc. And I do not want reason seeping into reform from former, shall we say, right Tories.
But what about the argument? What about the argument that goes, I think Robert Jenrick's slightly different because he literally, first of all, says he's had a road to Damascus conversion and resigned as immigration minister on the grounds that he couldn't stop the government wouldn't let him stop the small boats. I think that's slightly different.
And he did do that.
So would you literally say somebody like Nadeem Zahawi, who look, Nadeem, the argument for Nadeem Zahawi is that he isn't a left winger, he's just a flake. He will go with whatever. whichever way the wind's blowing. So he would help a Farage government. He wouldn't be like the civil service trying to stop Farage. But if Farage advocated socialism, Nadeem Zahawi would go with that. And if he advocated right-winger, he'd go with that. Do you see what I mean?
I mean, Nadeem Zahawi, I can't say his name, Nadeem Zahawi. I mean, this is a man who stood up in... I do have trouble pronouncing it. This was a man who stood up in the Oxford Union and advocated for Black Lives Matter, an organisation which back in 2020 Nigel Farage called a Marxist organisation.
Which it was.
So
it is.
Everyone knew what they were at the start, but yet people seem to still fall for it.
You're seeing a conflict of interest of people who have this progressive ideology seeping their way into reform.
Isn't it just weak politicians? We don't have quality people in politics now. They wouldn't go into politics. They go into business and they go into other things because it's really down in the doldrums. Maybe this will actually encourage it to fall in a part of the country, and we're seeing good young people now getting into it, hopefully.
I hope so, but the one thing that reform will shine on, I believe, if they stick to it, is Reform are the only people who use the term radical left.
Yeah.
I hope that Reform actually stand and takes the fight to the radical left instead of the left always setting the argument.
Daniel, where are you politically? I mean, look, by the way, I always say this, you are a caller, not a contributor, therefore you don't have to answer my questions. But if you do feel like answering, who did you vote for in the past? Who are you going to vote for in the next election? Are you with Farage or Ben Habib? Give us a flavour of that.
I'm torn between Reform, Rupert Lowe. Lowe to me is the modern day Cromwell.
Yeah.
How I really see him. He is the voice of, definitely the voice of the people.
And he's a farmer, isn't he? Just like Oliver Cromwell was a farmer. Interesting.
I think everyone was a farmer at the time of the English Revolution. Yeah, English Civil War, wasn't it, weren't they?
Rupert Lowe.
I think there was no other job. No,
yeah, but Rupert Lowe stayed to his history.
What I want to see from Farage, and this is what Rupert Lowe does so well, is I won't say the word, I don't give an F attitude.
I'll tell you what I think would be nice is if we didn't have to have this conversation. And the reason, Daniel, we're having to have this conversation is we know the civil service have been politicised. And actually, what should happen, so when I worked in the House of Commons, an ordinary bloke gets elected to Parliament. It was my job to implement what he wanted.
That's what the civil service is just meant to be, a secretary.
Nowadays, the civil service, I mean, I always give
They run things. Look at Dominic Cummings. He said that basically it's all a charade, the cabinet. It's decided by the...
I give the example always of the fact that that you should be able to be a Homer Simpson going into Parliament, but in reality, you don't have that. Dominic Cummings was absolutely right.
What I find weird with the civil service, and I can guarantee you, if they were to do a investigation into the ideology of people who work within the civil service, I can guarantee you will find people who believe radicalism, progressivism, and Islamism.
Well, we know in the Home Office there's a whole group.
By the way, let me just say one thing to you about this Hillsborough law. Now, first of all, I went to the Liverpool Cathedral of Christ the King, the Catholic Cathedral, for the Hillsborough Memorial in 1989. The devastating incident at Sheffield Wednesday's ground happened on the 15th of April, the day before my 10th birthday party. So my mum was making a cake and I was watching the TV. So I have the greatest sympathy with what happened. And there is no way that Sir Norman Bettison, should have been given the Chief Constableship of Merseyside. But within that law, it also says that at all times, civil servants must A, act in the public interest, and B, act within the law. There is major concerns, as expressed by Toby Young, Lord Young, the head of the Free Speech Union, that if that law is passed, now there's lots of good bits about the law, but if that law is passed, what will happen is this. Civil servants will say, Mr. Prime Minister Farage, I know you're telling me to stop this, but it is not in the public interest to do it, therefore I'm going to ignore your wishes. And he also believes there's a possibility that the courts will say, We have to act within the law, and that law is the international law, not UK law. International law is superior to UK law, and we're going to implement that. It is possible, therefore, according to Lord Young, that if Reform win the next election, they will come in day one and their ministers will say, do this, do that, do the other, and the civil servants will say, no, we're going to continue Labour's policy, whatever you think.
He needs to completely sack every single person in there.
Yeah, they need to set it.
One of them.
They need to set it up exactly like Donald Trump, and hopefully they will do that. Janice, what did you think about that call? That was good, wasn't it? That was inside.
Oh my God! Well, I think we're dead in the water, aren't we?
Thanks, Janice. And on that bombshell, we're going to take a little break here and reconvene back here on Talk with Andre Nash after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I guess we're just going to go to Heather in Gavan. Heather on Talk.
Hello, Andre and Ash.
Morning.
How are you two? Well, I'm glad to hear that Robert Jenrick is part of Reform.
Yeah.
And because I voted for Reform in the last general election last year on the 4th of July. What Reform needs to do is to start helping people like Janice, who are...
Hold on, Janice is here. Have a chat to Janice.
We
can have a rest.
Oh, it's really nice to meet you.
Janice, would you rather have an MP would love to help you with your situation that you are currently in right now? Because we are hearing a lot about what's going on with you and your situation, and it's diabolical. They should be helping you a hell of a lot more to sort your home out.
Well, it'll take a year.
You know what he needs?
I might need me here by then. But I've got a lot.
I'll tell you what, Janice.
I don't even give a toss.
That you need to get out
just not even listening to each other.
But it's really, this is gold dust.
They keep my life going. They're my life.
Tell you what, they need to remove you from that situation and put you in a decent home, even if it has to be securely. Social
I'm happy here. I don't want to go anywhere. It's me and my cat. They're going to help me, but it's going to take a heck of a long time. And I'm just sitting here and I'm going, yeah, well, it'll all happen. It'll all happen.
You should be in some kind of private care or...
One at a time.
So grateful.
One at a time.
So grateful that you thought of me.
Because that's what you need. You need sheltered housing accommodation, where you're going to get support, where you're going to get the care that you need. Because you cannot go on living the way you are living.
Neither can
Well,
I.
it's better than she's got rid of the dancing rats, though, so it's getting better.
I don't know rats anymore, mate.
Yeah, so it is getting
No
better,
rats.
isn't it? She's just got no heating and
yeah,
no
look, I've
radio
got no
and
rats.
holes in the roof.
I can't go and sleep in my bed, but
No.
so what?
But you ain't got rats
I'm
in
in
it
a better
anymore.
place than a lot of people are.
So there you
look,
go.
I've
Happy
got
bunny,
black balls
Heather.
up in my bedroom. I'm in a better place than a lot of
See?
people are.
So there
I'm
you
not
go, Heather.
moaning.
She's...
I'm
Right,
not
Heather,
moaning.
carry on about your politics. Thanks, Janice. We'll come back to you. Stay there.
What, right about politics, they need to start helping a lot more for people like Janice and other people like her, because the way that this country is going by not helping our own people who are struggling on everyday basis is diabolical.
Well, thanks there, Heather. Did you like that, Janice? She was nice, wasn't she?
Oh, look, she was lovely. Thank you so much, because her kindness meant a lot to me. I don't get much of it. I'm here on my own with my cat. I've got all this to deal with.
What's your cat called?
I have to keep going and getting quotes and quotes and quotes.
What's your cat?
And
What's your cat
it's
called?
blown my mind, but...
What did you? What did your cat not get the rats?
Oh,
See, well, you know when you had the rats, didn't you set your cat on them?
What?
On the rats?
Rats?
Yeah.
No, rats for 2 doors there.
Right. But your cat didn't get the rats. No. Anyway, Kevin, we'll be back, Janice. Don't worry. Kevin in Basingstoke.
Good morning.
All right, Kev.
All right.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I don't think the Tories are finished at all.
Why is that then?
Well, if you look at the opinion polls, they're all pretty close. I mean, in May, Reform were about 34 points.
Yeah, they've
Now
stagnated a bit.
Now they've gone down to 24 points in some opinion polls.
Really?
And the Conservatives are about 20 and Labour about 19.
Is it possible, Kevin, that the following happens? Most people will get to the general election and go, basically, there are 2 tribes. They'll go, there's a right-wing tribe and a left-wing tribe. And the left-wing tribe will go, let's flick through social media and see who is most likely to win out of Labour, Greens, whatever, right? I'll vote for them. And the right-wing tribe will go, let's see who in my area is most likely to win out of Conservatives or Reform. I'm going to vote for them. Do you see what I mean? I mean, if you think about it, when we were younger, it was really hard to do tactical voting. Now it's pretty easy.
Well, there definitely will be tactical voting because there was...
Especially with the postal
in the last
votes.
election, people wanted to get the Tories out and they voted not for who they wanted, but who's more likely to get them out.
Which didn't turn out well, did it?
Yeah, so just to be clear, and I don't want to betray my colleagues, but in all likelihood, I mean, I don't normally vote, and the reason I don't normally vote is I'm normally voting, working on election day, and I like to vote in person, so I never request a postal vote. But anyway, if I do vote, look, in Windsor, I'm probably going to vote Conservative at the general election, simply because I think it's unlikely that Reform will win.
Well, do you vote? Surely they open at 7 in the morning. You don't work that early, do you?
He's not up that early, though, is he?
No, come on.
He's still in a stupor at 7
All
in the
right,
morning.
all right. I will vote in the next election.
Well, what I was going to say, the thing is with there's a lot of, I've heard a lot of Reform voters. They really do not like the Tories.
Well, they definitely don't like Nadeem Zahawi. Let's just be clear. They've been going wild about that.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Reform, I mean, they are concerned. Nigel Farage is a Thatcherite.
Yes.
You know, he loves privatisation, small state, tax cuts for the rich.
Yeah.
And that is who he is. And
yeah, growth.
Well, there is one slight difference. You've got to remember one thing. The privatisation that I support and Nigel Farage supports is about the public in Britain owning companies. It's not about what's happened with, say, the Port of Dover, which is bought by an Irish bank, or the situation with, and no disrespect, the building that we're sitting in here, and indeed the Shard, owned by the Qatar Sovereign Wealth Fund, or, the idea, or British Steel, owned by the Chinese state. It's not called British Steel.
Well, the nuclear power station down Hinkley in Somerset,
Owned
or
by the French
Harrods,
government.
and all the.
I think the concern is that we have privatised, and actually what's happened is foreign governments have nationalised these businesses, and I think actually Farage is going to have to intervene on that.
Which is what they do in Germany and other countries. They don't allow you to buy the crown jewels of the country.
Yeah, but the thing is, really, the only thing is with Farage, he says he's going to do things, and then when, which sounds great, but then later on, you found out he hasn't done them at all.
Yeah, but he hasn't ever been in power. This is unknown territory, isn't it?
He has to vote. He said he's going to vote in a certain way. He doesn't. He said he supported stopping the 2-child benefit cap. But when it comes to voting for it, he didn't. And now he's saying he's going to reintroduce it in some certain way.
Well, he'll have to anyway, won't he? He's going to really have to cut back on spending, and they're not going to have the backbench problem that the Labour have.
What do you get? Just a matter of interest. So, look, Kevin, we appreciate you calling. You're somebody who's centre left. No problem with that. You're very, very welcome. What do you think about Starmer versus, say, Zach Polanski?
Well, the thing is, I like a lot of Zach Polanski's policies.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm not so sure about, he doesn't like NATO, which I think NATO is very important. He did say that. He did say he wouldn't scrap it straight away.
There's no sort of... One of the things that I feel sorry for lefties for is there is no kind of Clem Attlee. There's no kind of...
There's no one sensible.
Yeah, there's no one who's a solid centre-left, patriotic, constitutional conservative, good bloke, dependable in a war type person.
Well, the thing is with Zach and Nigel, in some ways they're quite similar. They give simple answers to a very complicated...
But don't they have Islamic extremists? I mean, their deputy, isn't it, the councillor who shouted Allahu Akbar when he won? I mean, what do you think of all that? And also the fact that he thinks he can make breasts bigger using the power of his mind.
Well, we all believe that.
No, that power of the mind thing was... that went through.
Apparently it did work, though. Don't knock it.
It
has its knockers.
Approached him and said, would you do this? And he said no at first, and they said they're doing a documentary or something. Would he do it? And he said, I will do it, but I'm not going to say it was the first time he did it. He did say that, he's only doing it because they've asked him to. And they didn't.
What about this whole thing about and I can understand why he's done it, but I'm instinctively quite against it. This idea of un-anglicising your name. That is to say that Zach Polanski was not born with a very obviously Jewish name and has gone back to doing that. It feels to me like, first of all, my understanding is you have a name that's used in synagogue anyway, and you have a regular name, and those can be the same or different. I just think this whole idea of the Malcolm X type thing, where you're going to come up with something that's less British or less American, is a statement against the country, even if all it is a Jewish name.
Well, the thing is, his family brought him here because they were persecuted.
Sure. Because
they were Jewish. So that's why they changed his name. He didn't change it.
No, he changed it back.
He changed it, yeah, I think he changed it.
But Darren Grimes said the exact same thing. He said, how can he do this? How can he do this? But the thing is, with Darren Grimes, he actually changed his name because his dad was, I'm not going to say what, but his dad was...
His dad was what? So he would have been Darren what?
Know what it was, but he did actually change his name, and I'm thinking, well, you're changing your name.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily slagging off Zach Polanski for doing it, but I guess if you've got a foreign name in the history of your family and you're born with quite a boring anglicised name, to change it back, it seems to me, it is a statement of being un-British, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Seems like that.
I don't think it was some distant family name. It wasn't even his own.
Well, they changed their name from the Jewish sounding name, so they wouldn't.
It was his stepdad or something like that. Roman Polanski. No, it wasn't Roman.
Roman Polanski.
Well, why would you pick a name of someone who's a bit dodgy? Do you know what I mean? Janice, what did you think of Kevin's call there? It was quite good, wasn't it? Controversial.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good, but...
Thanks, Janice. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. This is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And let's go to Rick in Essex. Rick, you're on Talk.
Hello.
All right, Rick.
What's happening? Right, so basically, this is where it's not on the screen. I'm watching it now. It's not on the screen.
There's a 14-second delay, so if you swear, we can just not put you on there.
Oh, right, obviously, yeah, right, okay.
So that means you can swear? No, don't, no.
No, I'm not trying to swear. The point is, the country is in a sorry old state, yeah? Reform is going to come in. I hope they do. But I do think they don't need to be ignorant, the people like Ant Middleton and Tommy Robinson, because they're supporting the same sort of things they are. Also,
I think there is. So can I divide up two people? So Ant Middleton is running for Mayor of London, and I think they should engage with him. The issue with Tommy Robinson is that he simply isn't trying to run for political office. And so my argument about Tommy Robinson is they shouldn't slag him off, obviously, but they should leave him to do what he's doing.
They should, yeah. 100%. They should leave him do what he's doing, but he's supporting the same thing they're supporting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right, but the next thing I'll say about integration, 6 years ago, I ended up on some bad times. I integrated. I'm part of the travelling community.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, here we go.
So what's your story then about integration?
Hello?
Hi.
Your phone keeps cutting out, but keep going.
Right.
Oh, yeah, mute the TV.
Right,
Don't listen to the TV.
I integrated into a community. I was on bad times. And I was took into a community. And I respect their ways. Do you know what I mean? And, their ways are right. I like their ways. Do you know what I mean? And they're still friends of mine. They're family. Do you know what I mean? I treat them, they treat me well, and I treat them the same way back. They're good friends of mine. And do you know, like, the coverage on the BBC over the Blue Stevens murder, disgusting. They didn't publicise it enough.
I don't know that story. No.
It's terrible. But it's absolutely terrible. This country's in a sorry old state.
Thanks, Rick. What do you ring about that, Janice?
You really do want my opinion?
Yes.
Look, I think we've all got to try and live together. I think we've all got to try and just be. Look,
all right, Sean is in Essex. Sean, you're on Talk.
Wise words. Oh, he's gone. Sean, Janice, you're back.
Yeah, I'm here.
We just need you to fill for it till we get another caller on. We've got Lawrence and Robert and Steve and Therese.
Just mate, you talk sense, mate. You do talk sense, and you let a lot of people talk sense.
Another Terry in Dover.
Oh, good evening.
Evening,
Ash
Terry.
and Andre.
You all right, man?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to make 2 or 3 quick points about reform and what's happened today. It just concerns me that, firstly, they're going to have trouble with the unions, aren't they? Because, Danny Kruger wants to reduce the civil service. And the employment.
Well, this is like what Thatcher did in the 80s. They need to do that. They need to do an even bigger job than what Thatcher did.
Yeah, but the problem is, Ash, it's going to go down like a lead balloon. Aren't they possibly, the TUC, going to call a national strike?
Yeah, they will, yeah.
It could be very bad, couldn't it?
Well, they'll ban strikes. They can ban, they can ban certain things that are going to bring the country to a halt.
Well, yeah, they're trying to add onto the police and the army, aren't they? But will they get it through? Will they have enough votes to get it through?
Well, the police and army aren't allowed to strike, but they should bring that forward to train drivers, and they should bring it forward for doctors. You know what I mean? This is essential things that are running of the country.
Of course. But can they get them?
Well, they can as government. You can do what you want. It's going to be tough, though, and they've got to work out what they're going to do.
But the experience from history is this. That whilst you would imagine there would be more strikes during a right-wing government, quite often there's more strikes during a left-wing government. The reason is because ordinary people that strike don't get paid, so it's unpaid leave, right? Yeah. If you know that Keir Starmer is a flake who will do whatever you ask him to do if you go on strike, then you'll go on strike. If you know that going on strike and Danny Kruger's going to ignore you, you'll actually be less inclined to go on strike.
I mean, look what he did with the doctors. He gave them a rise with no sort of demands or anything, and they said, don't worry, we're going to strike again in a year, and that's exactly what's happened. I mean, ridiculous managing of the situation.
Actually, recently I was surprised to learn that I didn't realise it was as low as that. Less than 20% of workers actually belong to unions these days.
Actually, I'm surprised it's that high. That'll be because of the large number of public sector workers. Look, the reality is, and I want to say this to all the trade unionists out there, the trade unions have done an enormous amount for this country. And I actually lament the fact that union membership has gone down. But the problem is, the same people that have hijacked the Labour Party, you know, these green, elitist North London brigade, hijacked the trade unions years ago and just caused a load of trouble.
They've hijacked every institution there is.
A lot of these people are just like gap year kids, you know, finding themselves in India or whatever. And they're not really practical people. I look at someone like Simon Danchuk, proper old Labour. On economics, he's left-wing. On defence of the union, defence of the realm, he's right-wing. People like that have disappeared.
He was that Rochdale MP, wasn't he?
He was a Rochdale MP. Yeah, he took on the grooming gangs. And by the way, was accused of grooming himself, which was a really, really unfair way of looking at what he did. He had a divorce and texted a bird who was 17 or whatever, and they went, oh, that's grooming. Well, it's not, because she's not underage. And secondly, we all know what we're talking about when it comes to grooming. But the point is, when he tried to stand up to the Labour Party for ordinary working class values, they caned him for it, because they hate the working class.
The other thing I would like to mention very, very quickly on the fact of trying to get into government, I mean, they've got to pick up the votes from the Red Wall, but I mean, some of those places, the Benefit Street, are they going to vote for a party that's going to try and reduce benefits? I
think they may well do. There are lots of people. There are lots of people watching and listening to this show who are on benefits. But you have to understand, these are people who are genuinely sick and genuinely disabled.
Of course,
right? Or genuinely lost a job or whatever.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people who are on benefits are very nervous about reductions for ill health, but they are definitely very, very keen on the idea of 18-year-olds not being thrown on the scrap heap, aged 18, to live a life on benefits. So you'll tend to find that whilst they'll be very nervous about reducing it for people with genuine disabilities, they're probably quite up for, and I'll tell you what a lot of them are up for, and I'm speaking on behalf of the audience, but Asher has been around the block for a while as well.
Dare you?
They really love things like apprenticeships for young people to get them off the streets.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the way forward, of course. Too many to university and not enough in press.
Oh, without a doubt.
Thanks, Terry. Right, Janice, what do you think of Terry's call? That was interesting, wasn't it?
Can I please say something?
Well, first of all, can you review...
A few years ago, quickly, I'll say quickly, a couple of years ago, Benefits was outsourced to a French company. If you had a pulse, you were able to work. That's what they're going to do again.
Thanks, Janice. Right.
But what about? And let me ask all of you this.
Yeah. And Janice.
What about? And I'll ask you this, Janice.
Hold on, Janice. You can
Janice, what about these group of people? So I fully understand the people that get in touch with us who go, I've worked, got to the age of 50, did my back in, and now, you know, I'm on benefits. I understand those people. The group of people that we're concerned about are not the people who've lost a leg in an industrial accident or have got to a certain age or got osteoporosis because they're older. Yeah. We're worried about people who are thrown onto the scrap heap as a young person and then fed special brew and pizzas for 20 years. It's no wonder you're depressed if you're living in a dump hole. It's no wonder you're depressed if you've got nothing to do.
And it takes it away from the genuine cases, like you said.
I was thrown on the scrap heap at 50 when I had a bloody good job in IT.
Exactly.
I was thrown on the scrap heap.
What did you do in IT?
Top, second highest, it was French actually. It was called Capgemini. My brother worked in BD, American one, and I was a projects promoter. Whatever you want. I got thrown on a scrap heap. I got made redundant at 50. I got thrown away.
So what we're talking about?
I would never get another job in IT.
So what we're talking about? Look, a 50-year-old made redundant from IT is unlikely to get another job in IT. I think we all accept that.
If you want to offer a Janice a job.
But remember, the fundamental problem with our benefit system no disrespect, Janice, is not 50-year-olds being made redundant from middle-class jobs in IT. It's people
I tried every job I could get.
Sure, it's people. It's people being put on the scrap heap, aged 18. That's the problem.
Anyway, Sean in Essex.
We've had Sean in Essex.
Have you? You haven't been on, have you, Sean?
No. Yeah, I had before. We talked about a Capri, a Ford Capri.
Oh, sorry, I mean today.
Ford Capri, yeah.
Yeah, but listen.
Have you seen the new one? It's ridiculous. It's not a Capri. Anyway, sorry.
East London, 1898. My grandfather was the founding member of the Labour Party.
Yes.
He introduced Clement Attlee to the Labour Party. And Lady.
What was his name?
His name was Thomas Harold.
Thomas